Chapter 1329. It's the formless imperial dagger. The words that were filled with astonishment and surprise were like the source of a storm. When they saw the black figure that was blasted out from underground, the entire formless heavenly tomb was instantly stirred up. In an instant, all the auras that gathered in the surroundings directly locked onto the figure. Whoosh, whoosh. Within the dense mist, the sound of rushing wind could be heard one after another. Everyone was like a pack of hungry beasts as they charged towards the black figure. The formless imperial dagger is mine. Anyone who obstructs me will die. Hee, what high-sounding sentiments. Do you think a vulgar person like you is worthy of a divine artifact? Humph, if you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. The smell of gunpowder in the fight was instantly ignited. Pairs of eyes that were suffused with red light revealed ghastly fierceness. Just as everyone stretched out their hands towards the black figure, an extraordinarily overbearing and majestic aura suddenly erupted from it. Hiss, powerful black waves of air mixed with chaotic purple light swept out. It was like a large water ball that exploded in the sky, and the majestic shock wave swept out. The pioneers that were caught off guard were blasted back. All of them revealed expressions of shock, and their gazes were still throbbing. As expected of the formless imperial dagger, it actually possesses such terrifying divine might. There are more and more people. Damn it, what should we do now? More and more people flashed through the sky, leaped over the enormous iron chain that traversed the heavens and the earth, and rushed over at top speed. Suddenly, a figure that was like a ghost charged before the black figure with a flickering and elegant movement technique. Without saying a word, he raised his hand to raise a majestic and shocking palm energy that crushed down. The majestic palm energy was continuous like the clouds, and it was a combination of hardness and gentleness, extremely domineering. Cloud riding palm? Floating cloud cities Li Dongha? It can't be wrong. That movement technique is also one of Floating Cloud City's top techniques, Cloud Flash. It's over. The formless imperial dagger is going to be taken by Li Dongha. The power of the palm shrouded down like a sea of clouds, but at this moment, the black figure actually released a series of dazzling purple lightning. For example, the interweaving purple lightning of the thunder tribulation instantly condensed into a heaven-punishing giant blade, rolling up endless destructive power as it rushed forward. Boom! Two frightening forces collided, causing the sky to tremble. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the giant blade formed from the convergence of purple lightning directly broke through the majestic palm attack formed from the sea of clouds. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder roared. The purple lightning blade was like a hot knife through butter as it charged towards the ghostly figure of Li Dongha. The latter quickly moved, leaving behind an afterimage on the spot. In the next second, he appeared behind the black figure. Without any pause, Li Dongha once again unleashed a monstrous amount of true inner force to launch an attack. The black figure flickering with purple arcs of lightning responded fearlessly. Looking at the aftermath of the chaotic energy that was constantly being released from the fog, the surrounding people were even more surprised. Wait, that's a person? Yes, looks like the formless imperial dagger was found by that person first, but he has no way of subduing the divine artifact, so his state is very unstable. There's actually such a foolish person in the world. On one hand, he has to prevent the backlash of the divine artifact's power, and on the other hand, he has to resist the siege of others. Looks like this guy is going to be the first person to sacrifice the imperial dagger. Bang! Clang! Wave after wave of chaotic energy surged in the sky above the formless sky tomb. Just as the others thought, at this moment, Chu Hen could be said to be in between the two blades, and he was feeling rather uncomfortable. The formless imperial dagger's artifact soul showed signs of wanting to devour Chu Hen. It turned into a black mud-like substance, constantly occupying and eroding Chu Hen's body. Looking at Chu Hen's body, It was as if he was wrapped in layers of bandages that emitted a black aura. The black bandages covered Chu Hen's body, 4 limbs, and even his face. Only a pair of cold eyes that faintly flickered with a demonic purple light was exposed. While Chu Hen was dealing with Li Donghe's ferocious attacks, he also diverted a portion of his energy to suppress the formless Imperial Dagger's artifact soul. The confrontation between the two caused the world to shake. The crowd could not help but be surprised. Even with Li Donghe's strength, he still could not take down the opponent after so long. Whoosh! On a mountain range surrounded by thin gray mist, a dozen or so figures exuding a thunderous and mighty aura quietly stood there. Compared to the more anxious and restless people, their attitudes were calm and composed, arrogant with a bit of frivolity. Heh, I didn't expect the people from Floating Cloud City to come and join in the fun. This Li Donghe is at least on the Wind Cloud ranking list. Why is he still unable to seize the formless Imperial Dagger's artifact soul after so long? Hee, I'm afraid he has an undeserved reputation. What's more, with senior brother Lei Yuan here, they are just wasting their efforts. The few people joked with each other while looking at the young and valiant figure standing in the center. Standing beside Lei Yuan were 2 young women. One of them was standing quite close to him, their sleeves lightly touching. Her beautiful face showed a bit of dependence. The other was staring at the fierce battle that was faintly discernible in the fog with a serious expression. Her gaze was slightly focused, and there was an indescribable cautiousness in it. Junior sister Xiaolan seems to be a bit nervous? A man on the side said with a smile. The woman lightly clenched her fists, pursed her lips, and smiled a bit awkwardly. The other man continued, Hey, junior sister Xiaolan has rarely seen this kind of scene before, so naturally she's not used to it. Plus, the atmosphere in the formless heavenly tomb is quite oppressive, so it's normal for people to be a bit nervous. Hee, that's true. Since that's the case, then I'll let everyone see it more clearly. The young man who asked the question first smiled. Then, he took 2 steps forward, clasped his hands in front of him, and along with the true yuan in his body, a strong airflow suddenly filled the air. Hurricane passes. With a light shout, an incomparably cold gale suddenly rose between heaven and earth. The hurricane blew up, and in an instant, the fog that enveloped the non-phase sky tomb was like a cloud that was swept away by the wind, blown away and expelled. Phew! A large area of fog quickly dissipated, and the environment inside the heaven tomb appeared clearly in everyone's line of sight at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even though the sky was still covered by dark clouds, without the cover of the fog, everyone felt that their field of vision had become incomparably wide. Walala, strong gusts of wind blew the gigantic iron chains, shaking them intensely. A few thousands of meters long chains connected the ground and the sword-like peak in the center of the tomb of heaven like a river. And 2 to 3 miles away from the peak, Li Donghe and the figure wrapped in black bandages were fiercely confronting each other. Huh? The fog dissipated. Someone purposely blew it away. Wait, isn't that the Thunder Saint Clan's team? An even more uneasy feeling rose in everyone's heart. In an instant, the restless crowd could not help but stop moving. All of their faces were filled with shock. In front of the Thunder Saint Clan's team, the man turned his body sideways and said to the young woman proudly, Hey, don't you think it's much clearer now? The woman nodded politely and looked up at the fierce battle in the sky. Li Donghe of Floating Cloud City's movement technique was elegant and sharp. Each of his attacks was as imposing as an eagle's. On the other hand, the figure wrapped in black bandages was flashing with strange purple lightning arcs. The lightning arcs swam between his palms and arms, displaying his domineering might. He actually possesses the power of lightning? The people from the Thunder Saint clan were slightly surprised. Looks like the power of that purple lightning isn't weak. Humph, no matter how powerful the power of lightning is, it's nothing before the saint physique of our clan. That's true. Although they were surprised, they still did not think much of it. This aura? Surprise flashed in the eyes of the young woman called Xiaolan. She frowned and stared at the purple lightning that emitted a manic aura. What's going on? Why does it have the aura of the profound killer divine lightning? She was puzzled, confused, and uneasy. The terrifying blue lightning that bloomed in the sky above the Thunder Saint Palace and the shocking young figure that looked like a fiend god appeared in her mind. Her eyes were a little blurred. When she saw the evil eyes on the black figure's face that were faintly glowing with a purple light, her heart skipped a beat as though it had been hit by a heavy hammer. That's... Her heartstrings trembled as her face turned pale. She clenched her fists in disbelief. Impossible. It can't be him. It can't be him. The mumbled words were like the buzzing of a mosquito, and the others around him looked at him in confusion. Junior Sister Lan, what's wrong? She did not answer. She was still feeling uneasy. The young woman standing next to Lei Yuan also looked at her in confusion. Although she was puzzled, she only glanced at her indifferently and did not pay much attention to her. Rumble! At that moment, Li Donghe, who had been attacking for a long time without any success, finally decided not to delay any longer. An earth-shattering aura erupted, and the clouds that blotted out the sky rapidly fused into his palms. Heavenly river of clouds! Dong He shouted. Accompanied by the rumbling of thunder and the sound of a storm, the clouds surged into the sky. Suddenly, a majestic pillar of wind suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. The majestic pillar of wind rose into the sky and roared to the 9 heavens. It was like a storm beast that could devour the heavens. Feeling the terrifying aura of the destructive power, the people around them retreated, afraid that they would be sucked into it. This power is really terrifying. Looks like Li Donghe also knows that the Thunder Saint clan is nearby, so he doesn't dare to delay any longer. Facing the violent pillar of wind, Chu Hen felt like he was standing in front of a prehistoric beast. Only his eyes that were exposed flashed with purple lightning. Whoosh, whoosh. Like millions of thunderbirds letting out deafening cries, countless majestic purple lightning bloomed in the sky. The dazzling purple light shone in the sky, instantly illuminating the dusky, formless sky mound. The purple lightning pillar exploded with destructive power. The moment it collided with the vortex of wind, thousands of lightning pillars rapidly converged. Purple lightning, demonic flame burial. Roar! A resounding dragon roar shook the hearts of everyone present. In the next instant, a giant dragon that was thousands of feet long soared into the heavenly river in rage. The majestic dragon's body was completely formed by lightning. Every inch of it emitted a violent, destructive aura. Every strand of lightning wandering on its surface was as sharp as a machete. Hiss! Under everyone's shocked gazes, the giant purple lightning dragon collided with the vortex of wind that could devour the heavens. As soon as the two terrifying powers collided, the destructive power immediately seemed to be able to break through the stars. The sky and earth shook, and the aftermath wreaked havoc. The sky shook and the earth cracked. The vast and violent air waves mixed with countless lightning tribulations scattered inside and outside the formless sky mound. The giant iron chains that connected the sky and earth shook violently, and cracks appeared. At the same time, countless cracks appeared on the ground. At the same time, the pillar in the center of the heaven tomb also cracked open with deep lines. Bang! The impact of the collision between the giant dragon and the storm could be said to have exploded the whole place. The tsunami-like aftermath swept out. Li Donghe was actually pushed back by the violent force of the collision. What? Everyone was shocked. The prodigy Li Donghe was actually at a disadvantage? Who was that person? How could he defeat Li Donghe despite being corroded by the formless Emperor Blade? A series of questions instantly surged in everyone's mind. At the same time, a tyrannical aura once again leaked out from the black figure's body. Gorgeous purple lightning quickly flickered up and down his body, and gathered towards his face. With a bang, the black bandage, wrapped around his face, was the first to break apart. A circle of condensed energy patterns appeared, and then a slightly thin, handsome face was exposed to the air. In an instant, Lei Xiaolan's pupils shrank to the size of a needle, and her face immediately became as pale as a sheet. Her body trembled, as if she had seen a nightmare of the past. It was as if the whole world had fallen into a state of stagnation. It's really him," Lei Jixin, who stood beside Lei Yuan, also had a look of shock and disbelief. Chapter 1330. Endless chaotic airflow rose into the sky and swept across the sky above the formless sky tomb like a storm. When they saw the face of the young man who was shrouded in purple lightning and had a black bandage wrapped around his body, most of the people present had a bewildered expression on their faces. "Who's that?" "I don't know. I've looked into all the geniuses on the Windcloud list, but I don't think I've seen this person before. Even Li Donghe couldn't take advantage of him. This person is definitely not simple." Zap! Zap! Dazzling arcs of lightning swam around Chu Hen's body. The mud-like substance around his body tightened and expanded from time to time under the impact of the lightning. It gave people the feeling that they were in a strange seal. Chu Hen's face revealed a bit of coldness and fierceness. His black hair danced with the wind, and the cold light that flashed in his eyes was like the brilliance of the stars. A demonic black aura mixed with purple lightning surged around his body. His entire body emitted a chilling aura that caused people's hearts to tremble. Lei Xiaolan and Lei Jixin, who were standing in the Thunder Saint Clan's group, trembled as they looked at the handsome and cold face. It was as if the nightmare that had been haunting their hearts had awakened. The scenes of what happened in the Thunder Saint Palace in the Eastern Victory State instantly surged into their minds. It's really him," Lei Xiaolan lightly covered her mouth as she clenched her fists. Her knuckles and delicate face were pale. A storm swept across the sky, and a cyclone stirred the sky. The people from the Thunder Saint clan looked at the two of them in surprise. "You know him?" Lei Xiaolan did not speak. Her slightly reddened eyes were filled with complicated emotions. On the other hand, Lei Jixin's expression was ice-cold. Her eyes were filled with frost. "Not only do I know him, I'll never forget him for the rest of my life." Her words were cold and hard, like ice thorns. She did not conceal the hatred and resentment in her words. The corner of Lei Yuan's eyes narrowed as he turned to the side and asked, "Could this person be?" Lei Jixin clenched her fists and stared at Lei Yuan's handsome face with a cold gaze. She said word by word, "It's him. He killed Lei Mingho, killed Sacred Lord Lei, and destroyed the Thunder Saint Palace. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Who would have thought that, after a few years, the hatred of the Eastern victorious continent would once again be brought to the Midland?" Lei Jixin's words shocked everyone from the Thunder Sacred clan. Everyone turned to look at Chu Hen, their gazes as cold as sharp swords. "Lei Lu." Lei Yuan's voice sank. "Here." A burly figure behind him replied in a deep voice. "Capture him." Lei Yuan raised an eyebrow, his tone frivolous. "Also, keep him alive." "Heh, that's exactly what I was thinking." The burly man sneered and leapt into the air, leading 7 or 8 experts of the Thunder Sacred clan towards the Heaven Tomb. When the lightning moved, it was earth-shattering. The monstrous pressure caused everyone's expression to change. "It's the Thunder Saint clan. They're finally making their move. Sigh, it seems like we came here in vain again. We don't have a share of the formless Emperor Blade." Shocked, everyone who was about to step forward subconsciously stopped and even took a few steps back. None of the people present dared to stand in front of the Thunder Sacred clan. Facing the menacing Thunder Sacred clan, Chu Hen vaguely sensed a hint of danger. But since things had already come to this, retreat was no longer possible. Crack! A series of violent silver arcs of lightning flowed out of the bodies of the Sacred Thunder clan members, accompanied by a shrill screech of lightning. The air around them immediately became extremely agitated. Nearly 10 figures with overbearing auras stood proudly in front of Chu Hen. Every single one of them had an expression as cold as ice. Heh, I've heard so much about you. Lei sneered mockingly. I've heard so much about you. It was a polite greeting, but coming from his mouth, it sounded more like a mockery. Chu Hen could not help but reveal some confusion on his face. Did they know him? Whoosh! With a heavy tremor, a curved halberd that was intertwined with lightning appeared in Lei Lu's hand. He pointed the tip of the halberd at Chu Hen. He was as wild as a celestial soldier and divine general. I wanted to go to the victorious Eastern State to take your cheap life, but I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me. The heavens really can't forgive you, victorious Eastern State? Chu Hen originally thought that Lei Lu had mistaken him for someone else, but when he heard those 3 words, he couldn't help but be surprised. Immediately, Chu Hen subconsciously swept his gaze in the direction that the group of people had come from. On the mountain peak in front of him, 2 faintly familiar figures quietly entered his sight. Looking at the 2 people from afar, Chu Hen's pupils shrank and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Looks like I don't need to explain anymore. Lei Lu's posture was arrogant, and there was a hint of disdain between his brows. Chu Hen's breathing was gentle, but his eyes were clearly much colder. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Ever since the battle at the Thunder Saint Palace, he had thought that the enmity had been completely resolved. He never expected to meet the fuse of the enmity here. Although he didn't know the relationship between Lei Jixin and the Thunder Saint clan, Chu Hen could still clearly sense the hatred and coldness in her eyes. A cold smile slowly formed at the corner of Lei Jixin's mouth. She stared at Chu Hen as if she was looking at a corpse. This time, I'll make you wish you were dead. Lei Jixin muttered to herself coldly and resentfully. Lei Yuan smiled and patted her arm gently. You can do whatever you want with him. As long as you're happy, you can cut him into 1,000 pieces. Lei Jixin nodded with a cold gaze. Standing here as a member of the Thunder Saint clan, she was like a judge. Lei Xiaolan, who was not far away, clenched her fists and frowned. No one knew what she was thinking. Rumble! Thunder roared in the sky above the phaseless sky mound. The invisible pressure was like a mountain pressing down on them from all directions. Lei Lu teased indifferently, Are you going to give up without a fight? Or do you want me to do it myself? However, Chu Hen also laughed. He raised his brows and mocked back, Why don't you get someone else to talk to me? You're courting death. Lei Lu's gaze turned cold. Countless wild electric arcs quickly scuttled onto the halberd in his hand. His figure moved through the air, and the thunder halberd flew towards Chu Hen's head like a dragon emerging from the sea. At the same time, the black bandage wrapped around Chu Hen's body was still rapidly tightening. The soul of the formless emperor blade was like a deadly poison that corroded Chu Hen's internal organs. Although it affected him quite a bit, Chu Hen did not panic at all. Clang! The battle halberd that was bursting with silver lightning swung over. Chu Hen leapt high into the air, and at the same time dodging the opponent's attack, his left hand condensed into a single palm. Following a chi-chi sound, gorgeous purple lightning quickly gathered in the center of his palm. Dragging the purple electric arcs in his palm, Chu Hen directly launched a frontal thrust, blasting the lightning in his palm at Lei Lu. The latter's expression changed slightly, and he raised his halberd to block. Rumble! The next moment, electric arcs exploded. The purple electric arcs in Chu Hen's palm collided with the halberd in front of Lei Lu like an aurora. A dazzling light wave exploded in the sky. Lei Lu immediately felt his arms go numb, and his sturdy tiger body was knocked back. What ferocious power! The spectators' expressions changed again. Lei Lu himself was also shocked. He, who possessed the bloodline limit of the sacred thunder body, had absolute control over the power of thunder and lightning that no one else could. However, what surprised him was that the power of the purple lightning that Chu Hen released was actually stronger than his. I said, It's best if someone else talks to me, Chu Hen said coldly. Perhaps it was because of the formless Emperor Blade's artifact spirit or something else, but the aura released by Chu Hen gradually turned frigid, and his handsome face took on a sinister expression. "Don't celebrate too early." Lei Lu's expression darkened. He steadied himself in the air, raised his halberd with both hands, and swung it down vertically. A bolt of lightning more than a dozen feet tall fell from the sky, sweeping up an overbearing destructive power as it headed straight for Chu Hen's head. However, Chu Hen didn't even bat an eyelid in the face of this bolt of lightning. Beams of beautiful purple light quickly flowed up and down his arms. Chu Hen once again grasped the power of the purple lightning and faced the frightening lightning pillar that was descending. Quang dang! A loud and heavy sound rang out. A purple light that was like a shadow blade flashed past. Under everyone's astonished gazes, Chu Hen had actually used the purple lightning in his hand to directly cut off the frightening lightning in the middle. Dazzling sparks illuminated the land. Using lightning to intercept lightning. Chu Hen was like a sharp blade that could cut through anything. Lei Lu didn't dare to be careless and sternly shouted, "Do it!" At his command, the other Lightning Saint Palace experts erupted with astonishing power and attacked Chu Hen as a group. "Humph!" Chu Hen sneered, fearlessly meeting their attacks. In an instant, lightning flashed in the sky above the formless sky tomb. Silver lightning was extremely destructive, causing the sky to tremble and the earth to crack wherever it passed. As for the purple pillar of lightning released by Chu Hen, it stunned the entire audience. Every time it collided, it displayed its sharpness. Purple lightning. Lei Yuan gently rubbed his chin as he muttered to himself in surprise. Chapter 1331. Purple lightning. Lei Yuan stroked his chin, a trace of surprise in his calm tone. "It's the profound killer lightning," Lei Xiaolan, who was standing nearby, whispered. Although it was different from the profound killer lightning she had seen in the eastern continent, Lei Xiaolan, who was born with extraordinary perception, could tell that it was a product of the profound killer lightning's evolution. "Purple?" Lei Yuan raised an eyebrow. "Its power should have been upgraded. The power of this purple lightning is even stronger than the profound killer lightning." Lei Xiaolan continued to explain. "Oh!" Lei Yuan was slightly surprised. He then glanced sideways at Lei Xiaolan. "How does it compare to the underworld fire heavenly lightning?" "Underworld fire heavenly lightning?" Lei Xiaolan's expression changed slightly when she heard Lei Yuan's question. There was a hint of hesitation in her eyes. The corners of Lei Yuan's mouth curled up slightly when he saw Lei Yuan's hesitant expression. "There's no harm in saying it, Lei Xiaolan glanced at Lei Zhixin before replying, Of course it's senior brother Lei Yuan's underworld fire heavenly lightning that's more powerful. Are you speaking the truth?" Lei Xiaolan pursed her lips nervously at Lei Yuan's unrelenting attitude. Yes. How can a mere lowly disciple be mentioned in the same breath as senior brother Lei Yuan?" Lei Zhixin said coldly. Lei Yuan smiled and then shifted his gaze away from Lei Xiaolan. She immediately felt relieved and secretly wiped the sweat from her palms. Lei Zhixin continued, "A mere black kshetra divine thunder can't even withstand a single blow from the netherfire heavenly thunder. Moreover, senior brother possesses the bloodline power of the thunder sacred body. That lowly thief isn't even worthy of carrying your shoes, so how can you say who's stronger or weaker?" Lei Yuan laughed arrogantly and patted Lei Zhixin's arm. "Junior sister Zhixin is right. There's no need to compare someone who's about to die. In a moment, I'll make him kneel in front of you and beg for mercy." Lei Zhixin also laughed, but it was a sneer. It was as if Chu Hen had already been reduced to an animal in a cage in her eyes. Boom! Clang! The sky above the non-phase heavenly tomb had already turned into a terrifying lightning zone. The violent lightning tribulations collided with one another, sending out an incomparably violent impact between heaven and earth. The void trembled and the earth collapsed. The few giant iron chains that connected the earth and the central pillar of the heaven burial mound shook violently. Electric arcs darted down along the iron chains and drilled into the ground. Even the weapons on the ground were flickering with arcs of light. The 8 Thunder Saint clan experts led by Lei Lu were like a pack of ferocious wolves, attacking Chu Hen fiercely. Chu Hen's aura was so cold that it was like a frigid, restless undercurrent in the deep sea. The black bandage wrapped around his body expanded and tightened under the impact of his true origin. The purple lightning that radiated from his body was comparable to an invincible blade. Wherever it passed, the silver lightning released by the Thunder Saint clan members would be cut down one after another. The other experts who had gathered around were all shocked. They were all secretly amazed by Chu Hen's strength. The young man before them was able to resist the corrosion of the formless Tharch blade's weapon soul and still be so powerful. It really made them cautious. Lei Lu and the others became more and more shocked. They originally thought that Chu Hen wouldn't be able to hold on for long, but the more he fought, the fiercer he became. He was like an unyielding, ferocious beast. The cold aura that radiated from his body made people's hearts palpitate. Boom! The purple lightning that covered a large area was like an explosion in the sky. The dazzling lightning that filled the sky was comparable to countless heavenly webs. The void distorted and the sky trembled. The lightning bolts were like giant swords that pierced through the sky, attacking Lei Lu and the others with the momentum of tearing the sky apart. Lei Lu's expression changed. In the face of such overwhelming divine might, he hurriedly shouted, "Use that move!" Everyone understood tacitly and exploded with an extremely powerful aura. Zap zap! Violent silver arcs of lightning shot out, and the Thunder Sacred Clan turned into a beam of lightning and leaped into the sky at the same time. Bang! Boom! Beams of purple lightning collided with the flashing lightning, causing a beautiful shower of sparks to erupt between heaven and earth. The Thunder Saint clan members quickly changed their positions as they blocked Chu Hen's attack. Lei Lu, who was in front of them, raised his lightning halberd and slammed it into a purple python-like lightning bolt. Bang! Lei Lu's halberd glowed brightly like a berserk dragon as he cleaved apart the lightning bolt in front of him. I've let you be complacent for too long. I'll take your life now." A mountain-like pressure shrouded Chu Hen. At this moment, the other experts of the Thunder Saint clan stood in different directions around Chu Hen. In 8 different directions, dazzling silver lightning erupted from each of their bodies. Zap zap, accompanied by an incomparably manic momentum, arcs of lightning quickly overflowed and connected to each other in the air. In the blink of an eye, with Chu Hen as the center, a lightning halo that was approximately 300 meters in diameter astonishingly appeared in the world. What's that? The crowd outside the battle couldn't help but be shocked. Could it be? There's no mistaking it. It's that move. Clang. Thunder roared. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the Thunder Saint clan members, led by Lei Lu, flipped their hands and formed hand seals. The lightning ring around Chu Hen began to emit a powerful aura of destruction. Immediately after, everyone completed their hand seals at the same time. Bolts of majestic lightning shot out of their bodies and headed for the center of the lightning ring. Every bolt of lightning traveled in a strange path. All sorts of strange and peculiar patterns interweaved and formed inside the halo. Chu Hen felt like he was in the center of an ever-changing gate of heavenly enlightenment. Terrifying lightning bolts shot in from all directions, like giant lightning blades that could destroy everything. Prison of 10,000 Destruction, Lei Lu and the others let out a deep and melodious voice. It was as if they were announcing Chu Hen's death sentence. In an instant, the sound of thunder pierced through the ears. The entire interior of the circle of light that Chu Hen was in turned into a cage covered in lightning. Anyone who stepped inside would be instantly turned into ashes. Prison of 10,000 Destruction. Everyone was shocked when they heard those words. It really is this move. Even Saint King Realm powerhouses couldn't withstand this group's secret skill. Today, I can see the prison of 10,000 Destruction with my own eyes. It's a worthwhile trip. At this moment, everyone was even more amazed and fearful of the Thunder Saint clan's power. With this strike, no matter how strong Chu Hen was, he would instantly become a cripple. However, just at that time Chu Hen, who was standing within the 10,000 lightning, unhurriedly opened his arms. Hum hum. Then, an abnormally strong spatial rhythm spread out in the sky above the 9 heavens. In the next moment, the airflow inside and outside the formless sky tomb stirred restlessly. In the dark sky covered by dark clouds, 7 beams of holy light pierced through the thick clouds and sprinkled down. What's going on? Everyone was stunned. 7 dazzling stars emerged from the 7 beams of light. 7 stars? How is this possible? An extremely uneasy aura filled the sky and earth. Radiance like the bright moon continuously flickered from Chu Hen's body. Chu Hen raised one hand to the sky, and the 7 stars in his palm bloomed with dazzling light patterns. Then, the sky above everyone's heads became even more turbulent. The 7 stars in the sky also erupted with the light of the sun. An unshakable heavenly might enveloped everyone's hearts. The 7 stars grew larger and larger. It felt like there was a mountain on top of their heads, giving them an indescribable pressure. Lei Xiaolan's face turned pale when she saw this. The scene that happened in the Thunder Saint Palace replayed in her mind. At that time, Chu Hen used this move to raise the entire Thunder Saint Palace to the ground, instantly killing thousands of Thunder Saint Palace disciples. Did he do it on purpose? Lei Xiaolan's body trembled slightly. She glanced sideways at Lei Jixin, who was not far away. The latter's face was as cold as ice, and the hatred in her eyes became even more intense. Suddenly, Chu Hen's eyes opened, and starlight surged in his eyes. Buzz! An extraordinary and shocking aura spread out in all directions, and along with the powerful waves of air that rippled in the sky, Chu Hen swung his heaven palm down. 7 stars falling sky. Buzz, as soon as he finished speaking, 7 giant light pillars that emitted endless terrifying auras descended from the sky. They were like world-destroying heavenly rays that pierced through the sky, falling straight down. Heaven and earth shook, and the sky lost its color. Beams of dazzling aurora illuminated the entire formless sky tomb. Bang! Boom! A violent and deafening explosion resounded as the 7 light pillars struck the lightning halo below. 9 heavenly stars sweeping everywhere. The instant the two collided, the overbearing lightning cage shattered into pieces, exploding the entire area. Rumble! It was as if a destructive and frenzied storm had been set off between heaven and earth. Every beam of starlight was comparable to a divine punishment that could punish the heavens. Vast and terrifying aftershocks swept out. The mountain peaks and valleys around the non-phase sky tomb collapsed one after another. The ground cracked inch by inch. The iron chains that connected the ground to the central peak rapidly tightened, as if they would break in the next second. Under the impact of the violent force, the entire omniscient lightning summoning instantly exploded into pieces in the sky. Lei Lu and the others, who were caught off guard, were sent flying by the terrifying impact. One by one, they were sent flying like sandbags, crashing into the ground and walls. Especially Lei Lu, who was right in front, heavily smashed into a mountain wall. As he crashed into the mountain, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The aura he emitted was also suppressed to the extreme. Shock! It filled the faces of everyone in the room. Countless people looked at the scene in disbelief. Lei Xiaolan clenched her fists. Compared to before, Chu Hen's strength had increased by many times. Without waiting for the crowd to recover, Chu Hen looked coldly at Lei Lu, who had fallen into a pile of rubble, and raised his left hand condescendingly. The power of 7 stars surged in his palm. The lightning sacred clan is only SOSO, Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, a luxurious and gorgeous starlight pillar shot out from his palm, sweeping up a terrifying aura of death as it attacked Lei Lu below. Lei Lu's expression changed drastically, his eyes filled with unprecedented fear. Chapter 1332. The Thunder Sacred Clan is only SOSO. As Chu Hen's mocking words fell, the power of the 7 stars in his palm surged rapidly. A powerful energy wave erupted, and a dazzling light beam shot out like the starlight in the night sky. The pupils of Lei Lu, who had fallen into the rubble below, quickly shrank to the size of a needle. A thick aura of death shrouded over. Everyone's eyes were wide open, and each of them revealed an expression of deep astonishment. The situation was reversed in an instant. Crack, just before the starlight beam was about to destroy the thunderbolt, a series of flickering green light arcs suddenly intertwined in the air and formed a semi-arc-shaped shield in front of the thunderbolt. Bang! A loud and heavy sound rang out. The imposing starlight pillar solidly collided with the half-arc. Following the aftermath of the chaotic air wave that wantonly splashed out, the pillar of light released by Chu Hen was actually directly shattered, transforming into fragments of light patterns that filled the sky. Voila! The turbulent airflow whistled. Everyone was stunned, and their faces turned pale. That's nether fire heavenly lightning? The lightning is mixed with the nether green flame. It must be nether fire heavenly lightning. Words that were filled with seriousness were slowly spat out from everyone's mouths. Looking at the flickering dark green lightning arcs, everyone's faces were filled with intense shock and dread. It can't be wrong. Ranked 37th on the ranking, Thunder Sacred Clan's genius expert, Lei Yuan, rumble. Thunder seemed to rumble in the sky above the non-phase sky tomb, and the already unusually restless atmosphere became even more uneasy. In an instant, everyone's gazes converged on the same spot. In the sky behind Lei Lu, a young figure with a steady aura like a mountain stood calmly between heaven and earth. There were no obvious energy fluctuations coming from the other party's body, but everyone could feel a formless and powerful pressure coming from him. Even the floating cloud city genius Li Donghe, who was defeated by Chu Hen, could not help but clench his fist. His eyes narrowed, and he murmured in a deep voice, "Lei Yuan." The heart-palpitating spatial rhythm was like ripples on the surface of water, striking everyone's heartstrings. Thunder Abyss. He possessed the bloodline limit of the sacred thunder body. Prodigy on the Windcloud list. He was a genuine Saint King stage powerhouse. What was the Saint King realm? Once he was enraged, blood would flow like a river. The power he possessed could annihilate countless living beings in the world with a flip of his hand. An absolutely fearsome existence. Chu Hen, who was wrapped in black bandages, looked up coldly and fearlessly met Lei Yuan's gaze. "I thought you would only stand on the side." From the very beginning, Chu Hen knew that the person in front of him was the central figure of the Thunder Saint clan. "I'm also very surprised that you were able to wait until I made my move." Lei Yuan's tone was indifferent as he raised the corner of his lips. "Looks like it's not an injustice that the Thunder Saint Palace died in your hands." At the mention of the Thunder Saint Palace again, Chu Hen was already certain that there was some unknown relationship between the Thunder Saint Palace and the Thunder Saint clan. On the other side, Lei Zhixin's expression was already frosty. She said coldly, "Senior brother Lei Yuan, there's no need to waste your breath on him. Kill him and avenge the Thunder Saint Palace." Her words were filled with hatred. As soon as she finished speaking, Chu Hen's cold eyes swept over her. When Lei Zhixin met Chu Hen's cold eyes, her heart trembled. It was as if she was looking at the Grim Reaper, and an indescribable fear instantly flowed through her blood. Lei Zhixin's face turned pale as she called out to Lei Yuan again. "Senior brother Lei Yuan." Lei Yuan smiled. He did not seem to be in a hurry at all. "I originally wanted to go to the Eastern Victory State to look for you after the Sacred War ends, but I didn't expect it to be like this." "So?" Chu Hen was not the slightest bit afraid. "So?" Lei Yuan's voice paused before he changed the topic. His cold eyes abruptly erupted with the light of lightning. "This is your fate." Countless flickering dark green lightning arcs swam out from within Lei Yuan's body. His body moved, leaving behind a lightning afterimage on the spot where he was standing. his actual body instantly appeared in the sky above Chu Hen. Soon after, a palm was thrown forward. Immediately, wind and clouds were stirred in the sky. The storm was extremely great as a frightening palm pressed down on Chu Hen's head. The boundless attack was like a mountain torrent. Chu Hen's pupils faintly trembled. At the same time, arcs of purple lightning in the shape of horned dragons revolved around his body. Bang! A heavy muffled sound resounded from high up in the sky. As the palm descended, its might shook the heavens and earth. A purplish-green intersecting chi rune swept out from the sky of the non-phase heavenly tomb. A terrifying impact force comparable to the undercurrents of the deep sea violently surged down. Chu Hen's figure shook as he fell in a straight line. With a boom, he heavily smashed into the ground. Rocks of various sizes burst from the ground. With Chu Hen at the center, a huge pit rapidly opened up in the ground. Ho! The surrounding crowd could not help but suck in a breath of cold air as awe filled their faces. Was this the power of the Saint King stage? In front of Lei Yuan, Chu Hen was completely powerless. The remaining force of the palm spread along the ground, causing it to crack inch by inch. In the next instant, the rubble exploded as a figure surrounded by purple lightning leapt out from the rubble. Everyone was slightly startled. Although Chu Hen was in a somewhat sorry state, his aura had not been suppressed too much. A strange purple light seemed to be flickering in his deep eyes. "Not bad, you can still get up after taking a palm of mine." As his voice faded, Lei Yuan thrust his palm downwards, arcs of lightning crisscrossing between his palm and arm. The unusually restless power of thunder and lightning let out a loud cry like that of thousands of thunderbirds. In an instant, a bolt of lightning shot out from Lei Yuan's palm and pierced through the sky towards Chu Hen. This bolt of lightning was extremely fast, and although its range was not large, its penetrative power was extremely great. Kai. The sound of air being cut apart was particularly sharp and clear. When it arrived in front of Chu Hen, he moved his feet slightly and the bolt of lightning almost brushed past Chu Hen's left shoulder. Pung. The sharp and rapid bolt of lightning immediately plunged into the rubble beneath Chu Hen's feet, but the moment the rubble beneath Chu Hen's feet exploded, a shower of sparks flew out. The sparks were like shattered crystal fragments, flashing with a green fluorescent light. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes slanted, and he immediately retreated with his fastest speed. Pung. Like ignited dust and debris, the scattered sparks suddenly exploded into a ball of dark green flames. What was surprising was that this dark green flame did not have the slightest bit of heat. Instead, it was extremely cold, like a ghostly fire in the night. "That's nether fire," someone outside the arena exclaimed. Yes, according to the rumors, Lei Yuan used his own bloodline to fuse with the power of the 1,000-year netherfire from the shadow abyss, thus creating the netherfire heavenly thunder. Compared to other people's sacred lightning body, Lei Yuan's bloodline is even more powerful. The power of lightning and netherfire can be switched back and forth as he wills it. Just this kind of divine power is enough to make other geniuses on the wind cloud list tremble in fear. The exploding netherfire surged out wantonly. Although Chu Hen's reaction was fast enough, he was still affected by a portion of the netherfire. The cold green flames quickly wrapped around Chu Hen's arm. The formless Tharch blade that covered Chu Hen's arm also let out a strong hum. Chu Hen suddenly felt a cold current invade the meridians and blood vessels in his arm, and a numbing pain similar to blood clotting spread throughout his arm. Chu Hen was secretly shocked. The power of the netherfire heavenly thunder could actually penetrate the surface of his body and directly into his body. "Seems like you're a little careless?" A frivolous voice came out of Lei Yuan's mouth. Then, a series of lightning bolts shot down from the sky. Every bolt of lightning was as beautiful as a light arrow that pierced through the sky. They were fierce, swift and fierce, and exuded a destructive sharpness. In a hurry, Chu Hen did not take the attack head-on. Instead, He dodged and dodged the dense attack. Pung! Pung! As the continuous lightning beams fell, the ground was blasted open, and at the same time, balls of green hellfire burst out. The range of the netherfire rapidly expanded, spreading out along the ground. At the same time, Lei Yuan's attack range was also targeted at Chu Hen's surroundings. He deliberately blocked Chu Hen's path of retreat. Every bolt of lightning fell in front of Chu Hen. In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen was already surrounded by the green netherfire. Feel the pain of being burned by the netherfire, but not dying. Lei Yuan stared mockingly at Chu Hen, who was enveloped within the sea of flames. The corners of his mouth were gently raised, revealing a trace of ridicule. Subsequently, he formed a seal with a single hand, and a strand of strange light runes spread from his body. Netherfire, purgatory, purgatory. Whoosh! In the next moment, the green netherfire below suddenly rose into the sky, and the fire rushed to a height of hundreds of meters. The heaven and earth were scorched until they were distorted. In the sky above the underworld fire, a huge sinister skull quietly condensed. A ghastly aura that caused one's heart to palpitate to the extreme shrouded the inside and outside of the non-phase heavenly tomb. The mountain-like skull let out a strange howl. The underworld fire that emitted the power to burn the sky was like a storm that could swallow a small boat, instantly submerging Chu Hen within. What? An ear-piercing howl soared into the sky, and within the sea of fire, there were large bolts of lightning. The lightning connected the ground and the gigantic skull in the sky. It was like chains and railings that sealed off this space. As for Chu Hen, he was like an object that was trapped in a prison. Witnessing this scene, everyone felt a chill down their spine. There was only fear in their eyes as they looked at Lei Yuan. Then, looking at Chu Hen, who had disappeared into the sea of netherfire, they could not help but look at each other and smile. In the end, the boss is still the boss. That person is going to die. He asked for it. Just because he defeated Li Donghe, he arrogantly thinks that he can fight against the Thunder Sacred Clan. How naive. Chapter 1333. Crack! Clang! Sharp bolts of lightning soared into the sky from the sea of flames like dragons and pythons, like the bars of a huge metal cage that sealed off the world. That huge malevolent skull was like a powerful seal suppressing Chu Hen. The flickering green netherworld fire instantly submerged it within. Looking at the scene before them, everyone in the entire formless sky tomb felt their hearts tremble. The destructive power of the netherfire heavenly lightning was like a cold current that enveloped them. It was awe-inspiring. As expected of senior brother Lei Yuan. He ended the battle so quickly. Standing behind Lei Zhixin and Lei Xiaolan, the young men and women from the Lightning Sacred Clan all looked at him with admiration. Of course. He's too naive to think that he can contend against senior brother Lei Yuan with the mysterious killer Divine Lightning. Junior sister Zhixin, how you want to deal with that person will depend on your mood. Lei Zhixin's face revealed a cold smile when she heard the words of the people around her. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. Ever since the incident at the Lightning Saint Palace in the victorious Eastern Prefecture, she had always wanted to kill Chu Hen to vent her anger. She had originally planned to return to the Eastern continent after the sacred battle, but she never expected her wish to be fulfilled in advance. Humph, I won't let him die so easily. Lei Zhixin coldly muttered to herself as a cold current surged in her eyes. However, Lei Xiaolan gently bit her lip as she cautiously stared at the area enveloped by netherfire. She, who was born with extraordinary perception, sensed that there was an abnormally restless energy rapidly expanding in the center of the netherfire. It's not over yet, Lei Xiaolan subconsciously blurted out. The instant her voice rang out, the eyes of Lei Yuan, who stood proudly in the sky, lifted. With an earth-shattering boom, an incomparably powerful black fist suddenly broke through the raging green netherfire. Its terrifying power was comparable to the light of obsidian that pierced through the sky. It broke through the shackles and slammed into the huge, sinister skull. A deafening boom shook the heavens and the earth. The terrifying black beam of light was comparable to a giant blade that could split the sky. It forcibly pierced through the mountain-like netherworld skull. What? Everyone present was astonished. This guy? There's even a Saint King realm seal. Countless strong black lights darted out from the cracks of the giant skull, and the netherworld thunder and lightning that connected the sky and the earth shrank rapidly like a dragon that had its tendons pulled out. Boom! An explosion sounded, and a shocking scene that was comparable to the exploding thunder of the stars swept across. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the ferocious netherworld skull exploded into pieces in the void. The mighty shockwave mixed with the green flames below exploded from within. Circle after circle, the ground split open and debris flew into the sky. Amidst the monstrous flames, a cold and arrogant figure once again appeared in front of everyone. Chu Hen's entire body was shrouded in a powerful dark aura. In addition to the formless Emperor Blade's soul wrapped around his body, there was also an overbearing black radiance. What a powerful aura! What an overbearing aura! Everyone became more and more shocked. They found it hard to believe that a ninth-order Eternal Realm cultivator could erupt with such a shocking divine might. The chaotic airflow caused Chu Hen's black hair and robes to flutter. His handsome face, which had a few bloodstains on it, had an indescribable coldness to it. He raised his head and stared at the domineering figure in the sky, purple lightning flashing in his eyes. "It's starting," indifferent words spat out from Chu Hen's mouth. Saying so, he stamped the ground with one foot. Bang! The moment the ground split open, Chu Hen shot up into the sky like an aurora. So fast! Everyone's pupils trembled. Lei Yuan's eyes also shrank rapidly. In an instant, a cold aura swept over and a figure as sharp as a sword immediately appeared in front of him. Bang! A dull explosion, accompanied by a vast airflow, swept out in all directions. The two palms collided head-on. The moment the two palms met, green lightning overflowed from one side, while demonic purple lightning flowed on the other. The two figures faced each other in the sky, the power of thunder and lightning clashing violently, shaking the heavens. "Not bad. You actually have the ability to get close to me," Lei Yuan said mockingly. The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled up slightly. "Thank you for your praise. I didn't think that a small victorious East state would produce someone like you. But it's a pity." Lei Yuan paused, a frivolous and playful look on his face. "And because of you, that group of people from the victorious East state will be met with a bloodbath." Lei Yuan said it very casually. It was as if he was reading a sanction. In his eyes, those people from the victorious East state were merely ants to be toyed with. However, when the other party said this, Chu Hen smiled, but his smile was inexplicably cold. "Not a bad idea. But it's a pity you don't have the ability. Don't have the ability." This was what a nobody said to a genius on the stellar list. It was also what an ancient eternal realm said to a saint king. Lei Yuan's eyes turned cold, an invisible killing intent surged out like an undercurrent. "Humph, not a bad last word." Crack! Green lightning wantonly erupted from Lei Yuan's body, and a majestic aura rose into the sky. At the same time, purple lightning radiated from Chu Hen's body. Streaks of incomparably violent lightning bolts intertwined with each other and shot straight into the sky. In an instant, a ferocious lightning dragon condensed in the sky behind the two of them. "Ha!" The two shouted fiercely, and the two lightning dragons in the sky erupted with astral energy, colliding head-on. Lightning of different colors bloomed like a rain of fireworks. Tens of thousands of lightning tribulations lit up the sky, illuminating both inside and outside of the formless heavenly tomb. Quang dang! Boom! Wind swirled and thunder shook the sky. The constantly diverging lightning was like a giant net that covered the sky, and everyone below it trembled in fear. They were afraid that if they were not careful, they would be caught in the crossfire. The moment the two lightning powers collided, Chu Hen and Lei Yuan were both sent flying backward. Profound killing divine thunder is a bit stronger than the rumors say, Lei Yuan said coldly. Underworld fire heavenly thunder is only SOSO. Chu Hen responded lightly. Humph, arrogant. The two paused for a second, and in the next moment, they burst out with powerful attacks again. Bang! Boom! The two beams of light collided violently between the sky and earth, then quickly separated, and then closed again. The sky was filled with lightning arcs, and it was a dazzling sight. Everyone present was dazzled by the scene. The two of them were extremely fast, and many people couldn't even see their figures clearly. They could only catch traces of afterimages. It's really unexpected that someone outside the formless heavenly list can fight with Lei Yuan like this. Yeah. I can't imagine. The spectators were even more amazed. They were even more surprised. They were even more curious about Chu Hen's identity. On the other hand, although the Thunder Sacred Tribe was surprised, no one was worried. Interesting indeed. To be able to last so long against Senior Lei Yuan. Junior Sister Xiaolan seems a little uneasy. Someone noticed Lei Xiaolan's abnormality. I know nothing. Lei Xiaolan exchanged a look with Lei Zhixin, and then hesitated. Lei Zhixin's eyes narrowed, and she glanced at her coldly, but she only sneered. She knew what Lei Xiaolan was worried about, but she also knew how powerful Lei Yuan was. There was only one thought in her mind, and that was how to deal with Chu Hen. Bang! The chaotic aftermath was like ripples on the surface of water, and the purple aurora and green starlight once again exploded in the sky above the formless sky mound. The air currents whistled in all directions. As the two of them retreated, a cold smile appeared on Lei Yuan's face. Then, his eyes lit up with lightning. Two beams of lightning suddenly shot out from Lei Yuan's eyes, accompanied by an incredibly powerful aura. This is a lightning's secret technique activated with his eyes. I can't dodge it. The spectators frowned, and their faces were serious. Chu Hen had just used up his previous strength, and had yet to recover. Faced with Lei Yuan's sudden attack, he naturally couldn't fight back. However, just as the two lightning lights were about to hit, deep within Chu Hen's eyes that flickered with purple lightning, a black dot faintly appeared. A sharp whistling sound rang out, along with a powerful strange rhythm. In an instant, two demonic purple beams of light shot out from Chu Hen's eyes. Whoosh! Everyone's heart trembled. It was also an attack launched with his eyes. Without giving anyone any time to be shocked, the purple beam of light accurately struck the lightning that was flying over. Boom! The four beams of light were like the destructive light of 1,000 years ago. As soon as they collided, the sky exploded, and the power of a tsunami swept out in all directions. The rapidly expanding shockwave swept towards the two. Lei Yuan, who had miscalculated once again, had a cold expression on his face. As a Saint King, it was already a great loss of face for him to be unable to defeat the ancient eternal realm Chu Hen after so long. What's more, he had yet to establish a clear upper hand. This was something Lei Yuan could not tolerate. It's time to end this. Lei Yuan's eyes narrowed, and he suddenly stabilized his retreating figure. At the same time, he released a wave of lightning. Bang! The chaotic shockwave was instantly crushed by his aura. Then, thunder rumbled and a storm rose. Countless violent bolts of lightning burst out from Lei Yuan's body. The might of a divine general who could control the heavens filled the surroundings. Everyone could feel the violent and domineering aura from Lei Yuan. The real show is about to begin. Senior brother Lei Yuan is finally going to get serious. The Thunder Saint clan members laughed lightly. Lei Zhixin's eyes were especially bright. The man in front of her could take back all the light she had lost. It's been a little long. Lei Yuan stared coldly at Chu Hen. Chi. More and more powerful lightning bolts intertwined around his body, like giant vines flickering with electricity, or like giant pythons. Chu Hen's eyes darkened slightly, and a solemn look appeared on his face. Ha! Following Lei Yuan's roar, countless massive pillars of lightning gathered around him. The power of lightning emitting an aura of destruction rapidly enveloped Lei Yuan's entire body, layer by layer, instantly enveloping him. The intertwining power of thunder rapidly spread outwards, and a giant figure rapidly formed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Woo! A wolf howl that pierced the 9 heavens abruptly invaded everyone's soul. In the blink of an eye, a giant thunder wolf over a kilometer long appeared in the sky above the phaseless heavenly tomb. This ferocious beast was extremely terrifying, and its facial features were clear and distinct. In the middle of its forehead, there was a third giant vertical eye. Violent lightning bolts shot out from that giant eye. Dark Fire, Thunder Soul. Chapter 1334. Netherfire, Soul of Lightning. Lei Yuan's domineering voice rang out from the demonic lightning wolf's mouth. Its ferocious aura sent chills down everyone's spines. Everyone looked at the ferocious creature with 3 eyes and shuddered. They couldn't help but take a few steps back with respect on their faces. What a terrifying aura! What the hell is that thing? The crowd was shocked and scared. The soul of Netherfire Heavenly Lightning, someone answered. Soul of Lightning? That's right. The Netherfire Heavenly Lightning is a power derived from the fusion of Lei Yuan's sacred lightning body bloodline with the Shadow Abyss's 1,000-year Netherfire. As Lei Yuan continued to strengthen and nurture it, the Netherfire Heavenly Lightning's power gradually formed an ethereal state. To put it simply, Lei Yuan has already reached the level where he can fuse with the Netherfire Heavenly Lightning. So that's how it is. What a terrifying fellow. Howl. The demonic lightning wolf's 1,000-meter-long body emitted a ferocious aura. Its ferocious face, razor-sharp claws, and especially the third green eye on its forehead. Lightning continuously flowed out of it, giving off the feeling that it was the source of the power of lightning. Layers of dark green flames flickered on the surface of the body formed by the frenzied lightning. It gave off the feeling that it was a ferocious creature from the ancient times. Rumble, not waiting for the crowd to recover from their shock, the power of 10,000 caddies of lightning enveloped them. The lightning demon wolf extended its huge claws like a demon god, and waved towards Chu Hen's head. A huge black shadow quickly covered Chu Hen's head. Purple light surged in Chu Hen's eyes, rapidly rising and falling in a rhythmic manner. Bang! A ring of explosions rang out and the sky trembled. A mountain-like pressure concentrated on Chu Hen's body. At the same time, the demonic lightning wolf's huge body pressed down. Chu Hen only stood in the air for 3 seconds before he was pressed into the ground by the huge claws. Bang! The earth cracked, rocks crumbled, and a huge wave of dust rose into the sky. The huge lightning wolf's claw was like a towering stone monument, pressing Chu Hen firmly into the ground, exuding an unshakable ferocious might. One move, huh? Looks like he really can't hold on any longer. That goes without saying. The difference between the ancient eternal realm and the Saint King realm is not something that can be easily made up for. Woo! Sharp wolf howls resounded throughout the entire non-phase sky tomb. The iron chains connecting the central pillar and the earth in the center of the non-phase sky tomb swayed restlessly, and many of those weapons that were inserted into the stone cracks fell to the ground. Thunder clouds rolled in the sky above the heaven burial mound. Lightning flashed, and the terrifying pressure was like a mountain. The thunder demon wolf was like an overlord, intimidating everyone present. It's over so quickly. How boring, someone from the Thunder Saint clan said disdainfully. But just as he finished speaking, the ground suddenly exploded with a bang. Everyone was shocked. In the next instant, a purple electric pattern that resembled vines of light suddenly spread out from the claws of the thunder demon wolf. Chi-chi! Countless sparks flew as the violent lightning intersected. The ground cracked rapidly, and under everyone's shocked gazes, The thunder demon wolf's gigantic claw that was suppressing Chu Hen slowly rose from the ground, as if it was being forcibly lifted up by a 10,000-kilogram force. This is... Everyone in the room was shocked. Lei Jixin, Lei Xiaolan, Lei Lu, and the other genius on the stellar list who had been defeated by Chu Hen before, Li Donghe, couldn't help but frown. An increasingly violent aura was released as the thunder demon wolf's giant claw rose higher and higher. Everyone looked over and saw that there was another sharp claw under the thunder demon wolf's giant claw. The same purple lightning intertwined and condensed. The sharp claw was like a dragon's claw or a flood dragon's hand, and it was filled with endless divine power. Under the claw formed from purple lightning, Chu Hen's gaze was as cold as a blade. Even though 2 more bloody scars appeared on his face, the aura he exuded didn't decrease. Instead, it increased. Rise! Suddenly, Chu Hen let out a loud roar. It was as if there were 10,000 beasts roaring in the world. Following that, the rocky ground beneath his feet started to crack inch by inch. A might comparable to the eruption of a volcano furiously rose. His purple lightning claws directly used the power to push back the lightning wolf that Lei Yuan had transformed into. Rumble, the thunder demon wolf's 1,000-meter body flashed to the ground, and the moment its 4 claws touched the ground, the rocks on the ground continuously exploded. At the same time, with Chu Hen as the center, dense purple lightning flowed out. Countless majestic bolts of lightning broke out of the ground and leaped into the sky in disorder. Chu Hen was in the middle of the lightning, and he was as violent as a demon god. Crack! The mighty aura was like hundreds of thousands of thunderbirds chirping in unison. Bolts of lightning intertwined and gathered around Chu Hen, fusing with the purple lightning claw. Under the increasingly shocked gazes of the crowd, another huge ferocious creature quickly appeared in the non-phase sky tomb. Oh my god! This is the soul of the Xian Sha Divine Thunder? How can this be? He actually strengthened the power of the Xian Sha Divine Thunder to such an extent? Roar! The roar shook the sky and the ground trembled. Endless purple lightning enveloped Chu Hen. In the next second, a huge beast that erupted with tens of thousands of lightning bolts, like an ancient ferocious creature that had broken through its shackles, appeared in everyone's field of vision. The huge beast condensed from purple lightning looked like the legendary auspicious beast Qilin. It had sturdy claws, a head with strange facial features, and a huge mouth with sharp teeth that constantly spat out demonic flames. Its aura was so strong that it made people shudder. On one side was the thunder wolf with 3 eyes, and on the other side was the electric purple Qilin that spat demonic flames. Both were formed from the power of lightning. Their appearance immediately set off an unprecedented violent storm inside and outside the non-phase sky tomb. Woo! At the same time, the thunder wolf's 4 claws stomped on the ground, and its huge body leaped out like a giant lightning bolt, setting off a destructive momentum to launch a fierce attack. Roar! The electric purple Qilin was not the slightest bit afraid. Its 4 hooves stepped on purple demonic flames, as if it was stepping on auspicious clouds, and launched a counterattack. Boom! The fierce impact exploded, and the 2 sides were like 2 meteorites colliding, instantly setting off a monstrous shockwave. The Xian Sha Divine Thunder and the Underworld Fire Heavenly Thunder clashed, and it could be said to be earth-shattering, rapidly sweeping in all directions. Bang! The Thunder Wolf's claw slammed down, and the rock under the electric purple Qilin exploded. 2 different colors of lightning exploded like firework. Then, the electric violet Kirin opened its mouth and spat out a fireball of demonic flames. The thunder demon wolf used its nimble movement to dodge in the air, then turned around and spat out a fierce bolt of lightning in return. The most chaotic battle ensued. Both sides turned into ferocious behemoths and fought fiercely. If the previous battle was a battle of skills and secret techniques, then it was a battle of strength now. The continuous explosions of lightning made everyone's heartstrings tighten. Every time the 2 behemoths collided, the ground would collapse, and rocks would fly into the sky. Everyone retreated with reverence, afraid of being injured by the terrifying shockwave. Seeing the spectacular scene in front of them, many people from the thunder-sacred tribe faintly narrowed their eyes. They had to admit that Chu Hen's performance had far exceeded their expectations. If it was any other ancient realm rank 9 wuxiu, they wouldn't last more than 3 moves against Thunder Abyss. But now, the situation seemed to have changed. How can the Xian Sha Divine Thunder be so powerful? Lei Xiaolan's heart was even more unstable than before. No one present knew more about the Xian Sha Divine Thunder than her and Lei Jixin. It had only been about 3 years since he obtained the Xian Sha Divine Thunder Heart in the ancient desolate heaven domain. In such a short time, Chu Hen had already strengthened the Xian Sha Divine Thunder to such an extent, especially since his opponent's cultivation was far higher than before. Monster? Lei Xiaolan clenched her fists. She really didn't know how to describe her opponent other than this word. Boom! The two behemoths collided once again. Their claws clashed and their fangs tore at each other, erupting with the domineering aura of a savage beast. Suddenly, the Thunder Wolf leaped into the air the moment it retreated, turned around, and swooped down, biting the electric purple Qilin's neck. The fangs covered in green hellfire pierced into the electric purple Qilin's throat like sharp blades. The latter was momentarily unable to move. Seeing that Chu Hen's side was suppressed, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. In the end, the hellfire heavenly thunder is still stronger. And that's natural. After all, Thunder Abyss's cultivation is suppressed. If they were both at the Saint King realm, it would be hard to say. Although I don't want to admit it, this person is really strong. If he was given a few more years, I'm afraid Thunder Abyss wouldn't be his opponent. Haha, unfortunately, he can't wait that long. Thunder Abyss will definitely not spare his life. Heh, if he wants to blame someone, he can only blame his bad luck. The situation seemed to have changed in Thunder Abyss's favor. To everyone present here, it seemed to be extremely normal. No matter how many trump cards Chu Hen had, the moment he faced the Saint King realm Thunder Abyss, his fate was sealed. Boom! The Thunder Wolf that was biting the electric purple Qilin's neck suddenly released lightning from its mouth. Accompanied by cold hellfire, a chaotic shockwave spread out, and the electric purple Qilin's huge body was sent flying. However, before the electric purple Qilin could stabilize itself, the vertical eye in the middle of the Thunder Wolf's forehead suddenly released a brilliant flash of lightning. It was like the source of the power of lightning. A violent aura rapidly condensed and stacked. The moment countless lightning rays bloomed, a giant lightning blade exuding the aura of destruction shot out from the vertical eye. You can kneel now as Thunder Abyss's powerful aura reverberated between heaven and earth. The terrifying lightning swept up a thick, cold aura. It was comparable to a divine blade dyed with dazzling light as it directly pierced the center of the electric purple Qilin's chest. Crack! It was indestructible. It was extremely fierce. The merciless lightning blade pierced the electric purple Qilin's body, instantly piercing through its front and back. In an instant, the electric purple Qilin's body began to rapidly disintegrate from the middle like a ball of scattered flames. Watching this scene, the Thunder Saint clan members all had a mocking smile on their faces. It's over. It's his ability to persist for so long. Looking at the rapidly disintegrating electric purple Qilin, everyone present no longer had any hope for Chu Hen. Lei Jixin's face was already showing a smug sneer. It was as if she could see the miserable appearance of Chu Hen kneeling in front of her. 9-star seal chess. A cold shout suddenly made everyone's eardrums tremble. Just as the electric purple Qilin was about to disintegrate, a flash of dazzling starlight flew out of its giant mouth, without any warning. Whoosh! The sound of air being cut through was clear and pleasant to the ear. This flash of light stunned the sky, traversing across the sky like a ray of light that passed through the endless starry sky. Purring! A muffled sound rang out. Everyone's hearts trembled as their pupils shrank to the size of a needle. The beam of light had accurately struck the vertical eye in the center of the Thunder Demon Wolf's forehead with the fastest speed possible. It was like a thin needle passing through a water balloon at high speed. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the Thunder Demon Wolf's huge lightning body completely exploded in the next second. Boom! Bang! The purple air wave and the dark green lightning reflected each other, illuminating every corner of the non-phase sky tomb. Two violent thundercloud-like shockwaves wantonly collided and intertwined. The two lightning beasts, one in front and one behind, seemed to be stuck at the same time as they disintegrated. And now everyone's face was filled with great disbelief. Their pupils faintly trembled with unease. That is... Star Jade? Could it be the North Star mantra? Chapter 1335. Swoosh! A brilliant ray of light streaked across the sky, streaking across the dense treetops and branches. Then, it formed a long and narrow parabola in the air before landing in a pool of water, creating a splash and ripples. The few small beasts that were drinking water by the pool were so frightened that they turned around and ran, disappearing into the deep forest with a few flashes. It's been a few days. Why isn't junior brother Chu Hen back yet? A voice full of confusion broke the silence. Many martial ancestor sect disciples shook their heads with a slightly solemn expression. Senior brother Wu Yan, could it be that junior brother Chu Hen went to look for junior sister Xuan Shuang and junior sister Yi Yao? The person who asked was Zhao Qingyi. Her sister Zhao Qingkai, Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Qi Qianying and the others also looked over in confusion. Wu Yan frowned and hesitated for a moment before replying uncertainly. It shouldn't be, right? Didn't junior brother Chu Hen say that he went to Han Yun's sect's Li Yuanliang to ask for something? If he was looking for Li Yuanliang, he should have returned long ago, Wang Li said. Could something have happened? Zhao Qingkai and his brother Zhao Qingyi looked at each other and said worriedly. No, let's go back and look for him. Someone suggested. However, an indifferent voice was heard. I don't think we need to pay attention to him. We just need to go. The person who spoke was none other than the West Dome Peak's first disciple, Pei Yi. His arms were crossed in front of him, and his back was leaning against a big tree. His cold eyes were cold, and he gave off a feeling that he was incompatible with the others. As soon as these words came out, some people from Beichen Peak Academy were immediately unhappy. What do you mean by that? Junior brother Chu Hen was kind enough to share the supreme sacred explosive blood pill with you. You're really ungrateful. But it's understandable. After all, someone was beaten half to death by junior brother Chu Hen in the sect war. Naturally, he has been holding a grudge. Shut your mouth! A cold light flashed in Pei Ye's eyes as he glanced at them from the side. A cold aura coiled around their necks like a poisonous snake. Their expressions changed slightly. Although they were afraid, they didn't lack the courage to retort like they did in the past. After all, the Beichen Peak Academy had turned the tables and was in charge. Did we say something wrong? The key was personally seized from the hands of the Five Elements Sacred Clan by junior brother Chu Hen. Naturally, we have to wait for him to open the inheritance site. Seeing that the internal conflict was getting more and more chaotic, Qiu Xingyi hurriedly stopped everyone. Shut up, all of you. Since Qiu Xingyi had spoken, the people from the Beichen Peak Academy had no choice but to give up. Pei Yi also let out a deep breath, his cold eyes revealing a hint of coldness. Qiu Xingyi continued, Let's go to the ruins first. Everyone was taken aback. Wang Li, Zhao Qingyi, Zhao Qingkai, Wu Yan, and the rest looked at each other in confusion. Then, what about Chu Hen? Qiu Xingyi's brows furrowed deeply. He nodded slightly and said, Now, Chu Hen's cultivation has already far surpassed ours. Even if he runs into trouble along the way, we will only add to his troubles if we go. In comparison, it's easier for him to get out of trouble alone. Moreover, Chu Hen has always liked to move alone. He might already be on his way there. That's right. Qi Qianying also expressed her agreement. Right now, we have no idea where Chu Hen is. Blindly searching for him will only be a waste of time. Why don't we follow our previous agreement and meet up at the finishing point? Qiu Xingyi and Qi Qianying's analysis instantly dispelled everyone's doubts. Since the start of the Holy War, Chu Hen had been moving alone most of the time. They could not rule out the possibility that he had already rushed to the finishing point from somewhere else. There was no need for them to wait here. After making their decision, everyone continued on their journey. With Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, and Qi Qianying in the lead, the martial sect disciples shuttled through the lush forest like a long dragon. A mighty aura pierced through the depths of the forest, scaring the wild beasts and ferocious creatures in front of them into fleeing in all directions. There's fog. At this moment, a thin layer of fog floated up from the depths of the lush forest. It was like a white veil floating in the air, wandering among the vegetation and blocking everyone's vision. Fog in the forest was a normal phenomenon. The group did not pay too much attention to it and continued forward under the lead of Qiu Xingyi and the others. Very quickly, all of the martial sect's teams entered the fog area and passed through it as fast as they could. As time passed, the fog did not show any signs of dissipating. It was layered and hazy, like layers upon layers of barriers, giving off an inexplicable sense of oppression. "It's a little strange," Wang Li muttered to herself. "What did you discover?" Wu Yin asked in a low voice. Wang Li did not reply immediately. She paused for a moment and looked around cautiously. "I don't know, but I feel a little uneasy." However, just as Wang Li finished speaking, an extremely strong airflow suddenly appeared in the fog in front of them, like a violent mountain torrent. The group of people in front was instantly shocked. "Everyone, disperse!" Qiu Xingyi shouted loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, the martial sect people flashed to the sides as fast as they could. Swoosh, 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 streaks of afterimages swept past on the left and right, and in the next moment, a mountain and river force attacked. The earth-shattering shockwave crushed the trees along the way. The sudden attack caught many martial ancestor realm disciples off guard. Bang! Bang! The ferocious power swept down like a great river. Along with a series of panicked screams, the mighty team was directly smashed into pieces. They were like a colony of ants that had been washed away. The people who were hit by the violent impact flew to the ground, spitting out blood and finding it difficult to get up from the ground. There were also a few disciples who were hit by the huge force directly fainted on the spot, their aura extremely weak. Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin and the rest were shocked and angry at the same time. They clenched their fists and their faces were filled with anger. "Who is it?" Wu Yin asked angrily. Whoosh! The rapid cyclone trembled in the depths of the forest in front of them, and mysterious figures with cold auras quietly appeared in the hazy fog. Pairs of eyes filled with ridicule and rumination shot out from afar. "Hee, martial sect kids, I have been waiting for you for a long time." The indifferent and mocking laughter was like the laughter of a cat towards a mouse in a cage. Their figures became clearer. Under the blurry fog, the flame-like flowing cloud pattern on their clothes was the first to be reflected in the eyes of the martial sect people. In an instant, the pupils of Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin and the rest shrunk. Everyone's face immediately turned pale. Ling Yun's sect, an unprecedented sense of danger and hatred surged in everyone's heart. Moreover, the faces of the people who appeared from the fog revealed a cold smile like that of a butcher. "Ha ha ha ha, history is always shockingly similar. I have been waiting for you again." The air in the forest rapidly dropped to the freezing point, and the bone-chilling coldness corroded everyone's flesh and heart. 9-layered star chest seal. A beam of light that seemed to come from outer space directly stunned the entire sky above the non-phase sky tomb. With a dull thud, the beam of light directly pierced the third vertical eye in the middle of the thunder demonic wolf's forehead. It was like a thin needle that rapidly pierced through a water balloon. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, the thunder demonic wolf's head immediately exploded, along with its huge body. Then, it collapsed into countless lightning bolts. Magnificent star jade? Everyone's eyes trembled as they witnessed the scene. This is the Northern Star Art? Martial sect. He is a disciple of the martial sect. Exclamations of disbelief rang out. The people of the Thunder Saint clan were also shocked. Martial sect? How is that possible? 2 days ago, I heard that a martial sect rookie killed Profound Sun Palace's Lu Minghong and Heaven Gathering Pavilions Qin Shui on the first day of the Sacred War. Not only that, but I also heard that a few days ago, even 5 Elements clan's Yang Zhongxiao almost lost his life to that person. If that's the case, then this person is... It was as if they had suddenly woken up. Lei Xiaolan and Lei Jixin involuntarily clenched their fists, their faces slightly pale. Clang! The electric violet Qilin and the thunder demonic wolf were like 2 huge balls of light exploding in the sky. The 2 different colors of lightning were like a jagged light net, constantly blooming into a sky full of sparks. In the moment of imminent peril, Chu Hen forcefully equalized the situation. A single 9-layered star jade instantly turned the tables. Sizzle! At the same time when the 2 colossal beings disappeared, 2 sharp figures that released the might of lightning flashed out from the lightning territory, one after another under the chaotic interweaving of lightning bolt. Chu Hen's expression was still calm, purple arcs of lightning circling around his body. The formless Emperor Blade's soul that was coiling around his body was still constantly eroding his power. However, Chu Hen seemed as if he didn't see it at all. He didn't even take a glance at it. Even though everyone could see that the formless Emperor Blade's soul had already entered Chu Hen's meridians. Next, it would directly devour the energy within his purple palace. To a normal person, this was definitely an urgent moment that could not be neglected, and they had to quickly come up with a countermeasure. But in Chu Hen's eyes, it was not his body that was being devoured by the Archblade's soul. Flickering green flames surrounded Lei Yuan. Looking at Chu Hen's calm face that did not have a single ripple, Lei Yuan's eyes were filled with an unprecedented cold killing intent. If he had only attacked for Lei Jixin before, then now he had made up his mind to kill. Today, I cannot let you live, Lei Yuan said coldly. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up, purple lightning flashing in his eyes. You are only SOSO. His mocking tone made Lei Yuan even angrier, and the increasingly violent heavenly lightning retribution gathered above everyone's heads. What a joke! Lei Yuan extended a palm towards Chu Hen, and then a never-before-seen majestic power erupted from his body. Next, I will let you see my true strength. True strength? Everyone was shocked. As soon as he finished speaking, Lei Yuan clenched his fist, and a huge power surged towards Chu Hen. Clang! Kaboom! In an instant, thunder rumbled and the clouds swirled. The space that Chu Hen was in immediately sank into a state of distortion. Following that, a mysterious disc-shaped light array astonishingly appeared beneath Chu Hen. Every light pattern was drawn by lightning, and they emitted an incomparably complex and ancient aura of destruction. Without waiting for Chu Hen to retreat, the center of the lightning array suddenly shone brightly, as if a gate of time and space had opened, and a cross-shaped torture rack rapidly rose up. Chi-chi streaks of lightning appeared on the top of the torture rack. The lightning quickly wrapped around Chu Hen's body, 4 limbs and neck. Like a chain, it firmly tied him to the wooden rack. Chu Hen frowned slightly, and the purple lightning overflowing from his body collided violently with the opponent's power of lightning. But as soon as one lightning was neutralized, the other lightning would come again. In the blink of an eye, it was as if Chu Hen's body was covered in green lightning chains. Kaboom! At the same time, the sky above the non-phase sky tomb was quietly enveloped by a terrifying lightning field. Violent wind and lightning gathered within a huge thundercloud vortex, and the lightning that emitted the power to destroy heaven and earth gathered within the vortex. And that thundercloud vortex was directly facing the lightning torture rack below. A destructive aura that shook the heavens spread out in all directions. Feeling this dense and terrifying aura, everyone outside the battle retreated. They were afraid that if they were not careful, they would be struck into ashes. Have a taste of my strongest killing move, and it will be enough for you to die. Lei Yuan was like a shaman spirit that wielded divine punishment. He raised his right arm, raised one palm to the sky, and then waved his 5 fingers downward. Crack! It was as if billions of lightning birds were crying at the same time, and countless sharp lightning bolts descended from the sky, falling towards the lightning array below. Clang! The dense lightning invaded Chu Hen like sharp blades. Chu Hen's pupils constricted, and a layer of condensed purple barrier overflowed from his body. The sharp lightning struck the purple barrier, causing a violent explosion. Humph! Lei Yuan gave him a disdainful sneer. At the same time, the power in the thundercloud vortex became more and more terrifying. Endless lightning overflowed from it, giving people the feeling that it was an ancient beast that wanted to break out of its cage. It looked down at the ground, causing everyone to feel a chill in their hearts. This power is really terrifying. That martial ancestor kid will not be able to escape anymore. Looking at the lightning torture rack, Chu Hen was like a fish waiting to be slaughtered. While everyone pitied his fate, they were also sincerely afraid of Lei Yuan. The power of the Thunder Saint clan was not something an ordinary sect could compare to. And this scene was exactly what Lei Zixin wanted to see. It could even be said that she had been waiting for this moment. The person she relied on did not disappoint her. Chu Hen, who was on the lightning torture rack, was like the center of a storm. The constantly increasing power in the sky was like a heavenly punishment that was about to descend. Li! Suddenly, a loud bird's cry came from below, and a gorgeous ray of light shrouded Chu Hen from behind. Leave the rest to me. Emo Qing Li's cold voice reached Chu Hen's ears. After all, the other party was a Saint King Realm Master. It was already very good that Chu Hen was able to hold on until this point. She could take over the rest. However, what she did not expect was, 2 words were coldly spat out from Chu Hen's mouth. No need. No need? Emo Qing Li was obviously taken aback. Chu Hen continued, This is my personal grudge, it has nothing to do with you. After he finished speaking, a circle of powerful energy suddenly exploded from Chu Hen's body. Chi-chi. Purple lightning that was as violent as a horned dragon quickly interweaved around Chu Hen's arms. The blood vessels on his arms bulged, and the veins on his arms popped. Chu Hen's arms seemed to contain the power to break the heavens. The hellfire heavenly lightning and black bandage wrapped around his body rapidly tightened. What is this guy doing? I don't know. Everyone was bewildered. Lei Yuan sneered disdainfully. A deathbed struggle. More and more powerful energy fluctuations overflowed. Under the puzzled gazes of the crowd, Chu Hen's arms dragged countless lightning powers as he approached the center. Buzz, a faint ripple spread out, and suddenly, 4 bright lights appeared in front of Chu Hen. They were 4 energy crystals that were overflowing with radiant light. One of them was white and exuded a chilling aura. One was green, verdant and glistening. One of them was black and exuded a strong evil aura. The last was gray and overbearing. What was that? Everyone's heart trembled. In the next moment, Chu Hen's eyes shone with a cold light. An invisible domineering aura surged out. He clasped his hands together and shouted, Omniscient nature, 4 souls unite. Omniscient nature, 4 souls unite. Buzz! Hua! Intense light bloomed from the interior of the 4 energy crystals. Along with the restless space trembling, the 4 souls of the 4 souls gathered like soul fragments, gathering towards the center. Rumble! Everything trembled, and the heavens changed. Like a star exploding, endless light shone in front of Chu Hen. The world seemed to be filled with the roar of hundreds of beasts, as if thousands of demons were wailing. Bang! A sky-shaking sound rang out. Vast and mighty dense cold baleful chi was released from Chu Hen's body with the power to engulf the vault of heaven. A dense blood-red light swept out like a blooming nebula. The monstrous aura rushed to the sky like a tsunami, and the river like infinite power crazily poured into Chu Hen's true essence and meridians. The entire non-phase sky tomb was shaking uneasily. The endless blood-red aura almost pierced through the void. The earth cracked and rocks collapsed. All the blood vessels in Chu Hen's body were about to explode. Roar, an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate along with an uncontrollable power of desolation surged in all directions. The lightning torture rack behind Chu Hen was instantly smashed into pieces, shattering the entire area. Soon after, even the lightning array beneath him rapidly disintegrated. What? Looking at the domineering figure that broke free from the shackles and smashed the torture rack, everyone's face was filled with shock. Chu Hen's aura grew stronger and stronger, and the power of the all-encompassing force became more and more majestic. Accompanied by the all-encompassing baleful aura, a huge blood figure appeared in the sky above the non-phase sky tomb at a speed visible to the naked eye. That is, Lei Xiaolan, who was standing beside Lei Jixin, widened her eyes, and her hands were trembling uneasily. The huge blood figure became clearer. It looked like a human, but not a human, like a beast, but not a beast. It had a human torso, beast limbs, ferocious fangs, and a domineering horn crown on its head. The horn crown covered the area below its eyes, giving off an extremely mysterious feeling. Behind its back was a pair of extremely strange wings. The wings were branches that constantly branched out, and the branches extended toward the back in a very orderly manner, crisscrossing each other and sticking to the ground like two huge tree nets. Domineering. Strange. Sin, all-encompassing king. It's the overlord of the demon race, all-encompassing king. Their trembling words were filled with shock and fear. Everyone looked at the blood shadow with unconcealable awe and fear in their eyes. Lei Yuan was also extremely shocked. After a brief moment of shock, Lei Yuan's eyes erupted with a ferocious cold light. Boundless lightning erupted as he shouted in a stern voice, "Stop putting on an act here. Be annihilated, lightning god's judgment." Boom! The lightning tribulation that had gathered in the sky seemed to have broken through a barrier and crazily swam down. Lei Yuan did not hold back any of his power. The thundercloud vortex that shrouded the sky instantly erupted with tens of thousands of lightning bolts. Under the pressure of the rolling heavenly thunder, countless electric patterns revolved around it. A frightening divine punishment with a diameter of over 100 feet pierced through the sky and struck towards Chu Hen's head. This lightning strike gathered all of Lei Yuan's power. A thick aura of death pressed down like a meteorite. The dazzling giant lightning was like a giant dragon that tore through the void, sweeping up a divine might that could destroy all things. Thunder tore through the sky, and a storm descended. At this critical moment, the arrogant giant blood figure suddenly opened its eyes. The eyes beneath its domineering horn crown shone with a cold light like that of the chaotic universe. The instant the Yama King opened his eyes, Chu Hen also raised his eyes. A majestic aura that could shake the heavens erupted like a volcano rising into the heavenly river. The aura that Chu Hen released was like a primordial tsunami that broke through a dam. The power that broke through the restraints of the ancient eternity realm swept out like a whirlpool, crushing everything in its path. At this moment, everyone felt a powerful pressure bearing down on them. At the same time, the surrounding space distorted. The gigantic blood shadow behind Chu Hen extended its sharp arm and grabbed at the frightening lightning that was falling down. Rumble, an incomparably violent and deafening explosion rang out, as if the hand of a demon was holding the sky. The moment the two forces collided, the stars in the sky suddenly exploded, and endless beams of light almost pierced through the void. Under countless horrified gazes, that bolt of lightning that was comparable to the god's punishment of annihilation instantly exploded. The piercing aurora illuminated the originally dim non-phase sky tomb, making it brighter than day. Ring after ring of dazzling light spread out in all directions. The Aurora Nebula all fell into the Yama King's giant palm. The sky was about to collapse, and the void collapsed along with it. Deep cracks also appeared on the ground of the mountain range below. The moment the lightning bolt collapsed, the faces of Lei Yuan and the Thunder Saint tribe turned as white as a sheet. Everyone's heart seemed to have stopped beating. Looking at the young figure that stood under the giant blood figure, whose aura was constantly breaking through its original limits, everyone's faces were filled with unprecedented fear and astonishment. Chapter 1336. Clang! Violent heavenly lightning exploded in the sky. Countless dazzling auroras surged and blossomed like an exploding nebula. At this moment, the formless heavenly tomb was completely enveloped in a violent thunderstorm. Lightning constantly struck the mountains and rivers below, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the gigantic fiend-godlike blood shadow. The limitless might controlled the heavens. A palm that could hold up the sky directly crushed the heaven-splitting lightning tribulation that was like a divine punishment that could destroy the world. The four spirits fused into one. It was as if the limitless overlord had reappeared in the world. Lei Xiaolan, Lei Jixin, Lei Lu, Li Donghe, and the others who had come from various places were all overwhelmed with shock. Lei Yuan clenched his hands into fists. Arcs of lightning overflowed from his palms. His face was filled with shock and chilling, killing intent. Under the limitless blood shadow that stood proudly between heaven and earth, an exceptionally powerful blood-colored aura rose from Chu Hen's body. Endless majestic aura surged within his body. The terrifying might that filled the sky didn't just come from the limitless blood shadow, but also from Chu Hen's body. Chu Hen seemed to be the limitless king's body. The invisible king's domineering aura crushed everyone present. Saint King stage, looking at the distorted space around Chu Hen and the insurmountable aura, everyone present felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. This was an aura that ancient eternal stage experts did not possess. Only Saint King stage experts could release such an aura. While everyone was still in shock, Chu Hen's eyes suddenly shot out two rays of cold light. Accompanied by an exceptionally powerful aura, the blood-colored light that lingered around his body suddenly rotated at high speed like a tornado. In an instant, the black bandages that wrapped around his body and limbs rapidly expanded. With a muffled explosion, the formless Emperor Blade's venomous artifact spirit was directly forced out of Chu Hen's body. Buzz! The invisible artifact spirit immediately turned into a black shadow and flew away. However, just as it was about to escape, Chu Hen raised his palm and condensed his 5 fingers. A powerful countercurrent immediately erupted. The piercingly cold, swirling airflow was like an invisible big hand, which forcibly pulled back the soul of the formless Emperor Blade. At the same time, a burst of extremely strong devouring power gushed out from Chu Hen's palm. The formless Emperor Blade's soul was unable to struggle, and under everyone's increasingly shocked gazes, it turned into a beam of light and was sucked into Chu Hen's palm. Like a whale sucking in water, clean and tidy. The artifact's soul that had fused with Chu Hen's body let out a violent tremble, and a violent and restless black flame rushed out. In the next second, the world shook, the sky changed color, and all the weapons inside and outside the non-phase heavenly tomb began to shake violently. The tens of thousands of divine weapons seemed to have received some kind of summons, letting out loud and clear cries. Walala, the iron chains that connected the central pillar of the heaven tomb to the ground shook violently. Mysterious runes that glowed with a strange soft light were moving up and down the iron chains. Then, all the iron chains became taut and flickered with a gorgeous light. Accompanied by the intense shaking of the ground, an unimaginable scene appeared. Countless deep cracks appeared on the towering pillar in the center of the non-phase heavenly tomb. The cracks were like irregular lightning, quickly covering the entire pillar. What's going on? This is... Everyone present was shocked and bewildered, and everyone's face was filled with nervousness. Buzz. Swish. An incomparably cold and majestic aura swept across the sky, and 10,000 rays of black light burst out from the crack. The black light soared straight into the 9 heavens, slanting down onto the earth. A sharp edge that caused one's heart to palpitate rushed over. Chu Hen stood high up in the air. He raised a single palm towards the mountain pillar, and his 5 fingers suddenly clenched into a fist. Bang! A heavy explosive sound rang out, and a powerful black ring of light surged in all directions from within Chu Hen's body. Bang, 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 a series of explosions overlapped, and all the giant iron chains that connected the pillar to the ground shattered into pieces, one section after another, breaking inch by inch. In an instant, the black light that originated from the inside of the pillar was like an unsuppressible deep sea, breaking through 1,000 years of shackles, tearing apart the seal of eternity, causing the huge pillar to split in the middle. Huh! Everyone who witnessed this scene couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Each and every one of them widened their eyes. Could that be the main body of the non-phase Imperial Blade? The divine weapon was actually hidden inside the mountain range. The non-phase Imperial Blade is about to reappear in the world. A rumble. Everyone felt as if the world was shaking. Chu Hen was like a demon that controlled the sky, emitting an insurmountable might. And at this moment, Thunder Abyss's aura flared up again, and tens of thousands of lightning rays erupted from his body. Crack! Thunder Abyss unhesitatingly launched another powerful attack at Chu Hen, dragging the dazzling lightning behind him. He knew very well that the non-phase Imperial Blade must not fall into Chu Hen's hands. Endless lightning energy rapidly gathered around Thunder Abyss, creating a storm that shook the sky. However, in the face of Thunder Abyss's murderous and merciless attacks, Chu Hen didn't even move. Instead, his cold eyes were fixed on the pillar below. "Don't even think about touching the non-phase Imperial Blade," Lei Yuan bellowed. His attacks intensified as rings of lightning and rings of lightning erupted from his body. However, just as the voice of the other party faded, Chu Hen's eyes suddenly opened. 2 rays of chilling light shot out. Accompanied by an astonishing fluctuation, a flood of black-colored air wave covered the sky and covered the earth as it gushed out. Rumble! A loud sound rang out. The mountain pillar was directly split into 2. An unshakable and vast might assaulted over. A black shadow wing that was 1,000 feet long broke through the rock wall, rushed out of the mountain, and shot towards the sky. It was the non-phase Imperial Blade. Everyone's eyes were focused, and their hearts almost stopped. Rumble! The appearance of a divine weapon caused the world to lose its color. The dense black aura rose like a prairie fire. Under Chu Hen's control, the huge black shadow wings were like a black battleship that came from the prehistoric world. It raised a power that could break the heavens, and directly charged towards the lightning abyss that was attacking. Bang! A loud bang rang out as lightning exploded. Although Lei Yuan's power was greater than lightning, it was like a mountain when compared to the black shadow wings. With a heavy boom, a circle of dazzling lightning exploded in the air like sparks. An incomparably ferocious force descended, and Lei Yuan was like a small boat that had been struck by a meteorite. The power of lightning that enveloped his body instantly exploded into smithereens. At that moment, Lei Yuan's expression changed drastically and panic appeared in his eyes. Bang! With another bang, Thunder Abyss's body violently shook as he vomited a huge mouthful of blood. He was sent flying. Senior brother Thunder Abyss? Lei Lu and the other Thunder Sacred Clan disciples turned pale with fright. "Don't you dare be so presumptuous! Stop him!" Lei Lu and the others' eyes were red with anger. They were like angry beasts. Without any hesitation, they all released a powerful killing intent and surrounded Chu Hen. Heh! Chu Hen's lips curled into a mocking sneer. Do you want to die that badly? The moment he finished speaking, Chu Hen's position immediately left behind a black afterimage. Everyone's expression changed as they all turned to look behind Lei Lu. Lei Xiaolan exclaimed, "Behind!" Before he could say the word face, a cold aura of death enveloped him like the water of the deep sea. Lei Lu was so shocked that he didn't even have the chance to turn around. Bang! An extremely sharp purple electric blade immediately pierced through his chest from his back. Lei Lu's eyes widened as fear filled his face. I let you live just now. Why can't you understand? The mocking voice sounded like it came from the god of death. Lei Lu roared in despair, No! Bang! Purple lightning exploded in the sky, and Lei Lu's body was torn to pieces, exploding into a bloody mist that filled the sky. The other Thunder Sacred Clan disciples all turned ashen as if they had fallen into an ice cave. But Chu Hen didn't even give them the chance to regret. One after another, ghostly afterimages flashed in the air. One after another, heavy muffled sounds stacked on top of each other. Balls of bloody mist exploded in the air. Blood rained down from the sky, and broken limbs flew everywhere. In an instant, 7 or 8 ancient Eternal Realm experts, led by Lei Lu, died at Chu Hen's hands. Such a ruthless and cruel method directly shocked the hearts of everyone present. Lei Yuan, who hadn't even stabilized himself, was enraged. His eyes were about to pop out of their socket. Bastard! How dare you kill a member of my Thunder Saint clan? Chu Hen sneered. So what? As soon as he finished speaking, the huge black shadow wings once again shot toward Lei Yuan at breakneck speed. As they moved, the black shadow wings rapidly shrank and the area covered by the flames quickly shrank. However, the aura they released only grew more and more terrifying. The air was constantly torn apart. The shrunken black shadow wings were like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. Heavily injured, Lei Yuan lost the ability to fight back. Panic covered his entire face. Stop! At this moment, Lei Jixin's angry and flustered voice rang out. Chu Hen's pupils congealed and a chill surged in his eyes. Following that, a bizarre energy fluctuation spread out. The black shadow wings that were flying toward Lei Yuan suddenly turned into a black cloud of fire. Rising black light quickly covered the shadow wings, burning them in the sky. But in the next instant, the sound of sharp weapons rang out from within the cloud of fire. Lei Yuan's pupils constricted. 4 sharp swords flashing with dark light broke through the black light, leaving 4 trails of light in their wake as they flew towards Lei Yuan. Hiss! The sound of the sharp blades piercing through flesh was clear and piercing to the ears. Everyone's hearts trembled violently as a series of blood splattered through the air. 4 black swords had pierced through Lei Yuan's shoulders and thighs. Ah! Lei Yuan roared. Swish! The impact of the swords caused Lei Yuan to be dragged backwards. In the end, the swords pierced into a cliff behind him, while Lei Yuan was nailed to the cliff by the 4 swords. Chapter 1337. Whoosh! Sharp and powerful sword chi emitted a ghostly, chilling sound. The 4 black swords that shot out from the flaming clouds were like long nails, piercing through Lei Yuan's shoulders and thighs respectively and nailing him firmly to the steep hanging wall. Whoosh! This scene caused everyone's pupils to contract, their hearts to tremble, and they almost suffocated. Lei Yuan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He was both shocked and furious, and the intense pain caused his entire face to contort. The 4 black swords flickered with ancient and mysterious runes. Dense mist-like patterns surrounded the swords, giving off the feeling that they were powerful seals that could not be touched. Miss Lei, is this the backer you're relying on? Seems like he's nothing much. A cold and arrogant voice filled with arrogance entered everyone's ears. Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan's faces had already turned pale when they heard these arrogant words. Lei Jixin, in particular, was trembling all over. She did not even have the courage to raise her head to look at Chu Hen. She stood at the edge of the hanging wall. Lei Yuan was pinned to the ground not too far away from her. Not long ago, this man was still whispering in her ear, saying that he would avenge her for all the humiliation she had suffered in the Eastern Victory State, and that he would kill all the people she hated, but in less than half a day, the other party had lost all face like a stray dog. The storm came too quickly. So much so that Lei Jixin was not prepared at all. Lei Jixin's body trembled as she slowly raised her head. The figure standing proudly in the void was like a monarch looking down on the common people. At this moment it seemed to be familiar, as if the nightmarish scene from back then was repeating. Don't, Lei Jixin's voice trembled uneasily, and she could not even hear a single word clearly. Begging me not to kill him? The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up. His expression was a little playful and cold. He looked at Lei Jixin, who was as frightened as a cicada in winter, and said, "Haha, Miss Lei, let me ask you, what qualifications do you have to stand in front of me? Did I give you hope by not exterminating your Thunder Saint Palace back then? What difference is there between you and an ant in front of me now? What was the difference between them and ants?" Every single word struck the heart like a sharp blade. Lei Jixin trembled more and more uneasy. If you want to kill me, then kill me." She clenched her fists so tightly that her nails dug deep into her flesh. She gritted her teeth and said coldly, "If you don't kill me today, I won't let you off in the future, ha 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 ha." Chu Hen roared with laughter, and the space between his brows was filled with contempt. "You won't let me go?" He paused for a moment and pointed at the thunder abyss hanging on the cliff. "Just because of this trash?" Trash. The two cold words were like a hammer striking the eardrums of everyone present. The genius ranked 37th on the Windcloud ranking was reduced to trash in Chu Hen's word. His words were like a slap to the faces of the others. On the other hand, Lei Yuan was burning with rage. His eyes were filled with intense hatred and resentment. He gritted his teeth and said viciously, "You lowly thing, my Thunder Sacred clan will not let this go. You and the sect behind you will know just how terrifying the Sacred Clan's anger is. If you dare touch me, the Sacred Clan's powerhouses will slaughter your entire sect." Thunder Abyss roared fiercely. His expression was ferocious. "I almost forgot that you have the Thunder Saint clan behind you." Chu Hen's eyelids twitched slightly. His tone actually softened a little. "I'm really sorry. I was reckless. Please forgive me." As he spoke, Chu Hen lightly raised his 5 fingers and slightly froze. Along with a steady wave of energy, the 4 black swords that pierced Thunder Abyss's body were slowly pulled out. Tsk tsk. The sharp blades slowly left the firm rock wall and gently left Thunder Abyss's shoulder and thigh. Everyone was stunned. Chu Hen had admitted defeat. However, this was not particularly surprising. No sect would dare to offend the Sacred Clan, let alone a martial ancestor with a weak background. Looking at Chu Hen's calm gaze, as well as the 4 black swords gradually leaving his body, Lei Yuan laughed, an incomparably wild and unbridled laughter. "Ha ha 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 ha!" His laughter was filled with mockery and disdain. So what if he lost today? What could Thunder Abyss do to him? "Ha ha ha ha! What can you do to me? Who's the real trash here?" Thunder Abyss laughed loudly. When Lei Jixin, who was not far behind him, saw this, a glimmer of light appeared in her eyes. However, at the instant the 4 black swords were drawn, the 4 sharp swords suddenly drew a ray of light in the air and fused together like an aurora, immediately forming a sharp black shadow blade. "I beg for your forgiveness. Your life. I will take it, Zhang." The sudden sharpness caused everyone's heartstrings to tremble. The black shadow blade turned into an afterimage that tore through the air and slashed across Thunder Abyss's neck like death itself. Hiss! The sharp sound made everyone's scalp go numb. A pillar of warm blood sprayed into the sky. As Thunder Abyss's laughter came to an abrupt halt, a round head was immediately separated from his body and flew into the air. Clang! Everyone present felt as if they had been struck by a bolt from the blue, and all of them trembled in fear. Bang! Lei Jixin's legs turned to jelly and she fell to the ground. The light in her eyes was like the light of dawn that had been swallowed by the darkness. It disappeared without a trace, and was replaced by a heavy blow. It was as if the entire sky had collapsed. Lei Jixin's inner world had completely collapsed. At that moment, it was as if she had fallen into an endless ice cave. She had lost all her dignity and nothing. She would never be able to raise her head in front of Chu Hen. However, she had brought all of this upon herself. Even from the very beginning, it was all because of her. The ancient firmament region was the starting point of the conflict caused by Lei Jixin. From Lei Mingho's tragic death to the destruction of the Thunder Saint Palace and now Thunder Abyss's death, Chu Hen was like a curse that had been placed on her. The nightmares of the past kept waking up. All the humiliation of the past came flooding back. In today's battle, Chu Hen had single-handedly defeated Thunder Abyss and the rest. It was just like how he had single-handedly massacred the Thunder Saint Palace, causing Lei Jixin to once again curl up on the ground and shiver. Killing was just a matter of nodding one's head to the ground. How could one destroy one's heart and desire? At that moment, Chu Hen had directly destroyed all of Lei Jixin's thoughts and desires for revenge. It was even more ruthless and cruel than killing. Thunder Abyss, whose head had been separated from his body, directly fell from the sky. His body was a bloody mess, and it was a tragic sight to behold. However, Chu Hen did not even spare him a glance. His gaze turned cold and his palm moved. With a whoosh sound, the powerful black shadow blade streaked across the sky and landed in Chu Hen's palm. Buzz! A circle of black light spread out from Chu Hen's palm, and the shape of the black shadow blade changed in a distorted state. Under everyone's fearful gazes, a terrifying and unparalleled sharpness spread out. The black shadow blade in Chu Hen's hand rapidly transformed into a series of shapes such as a cold spear, a halberd, a saber, a heavy hammer. Then, the two sides of the blade flickered and finally transformed into a divine sword that appeared between heaven and earth. The surface of the divine sword was suffused with traces of black light, and the center of the sword body flickered with green runes. The sword hilt also flickered with green patterns, cold and mysterious, like an emperor's blade. Its appearance was somewhat similar to the blue sky sword, but the divine might it released was heaven and earth apart. It was not on the same level at all. Shapeless and formless, it had myriad shapes and phenomena. Chu Hen held the formless Tharch blade and pointed the tip at Lei Jixin and Thunder Abyss. The domineering aura of a monarch shrouded them. Chapter 1338. Winds rose and clouds surged as the sky changed color. The space inside the non-phase heavenly tomb seemed to have fallen into a state of stillness. Everyone's thoughts also became somewhat stagnant. The non-phase heavenly tomb, which was originally shrouded in dark clouds, was now as silent as an uninhabited mountain range. The atmosphere was so strange that no one dared to speak aloud. Apart from Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan, the rest of the Thunder Saint clan was completely annihilated. The 37th person on the professional list, a Saint King realm existence, had died in the non-phase heavenly tomb just like that. No one had expected that Lei Yuan, a powerhouse with a sacred thunder body bloodline who had reached the limit, would be buried in the non-phase heavenly tomb forever. What was even more unexpected was that the person who killed him was a rising star from the martial sect. However, compared to Lei Yuan and the others who had lost their lives, Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan, who had survived, were not so optimistic. Not only had the nightmare that had plagued them not been lifted, it had instead become even more terrifying. From now on, they would live in fear and trepidation. Killing someone was just a matter of nodding one's head to the ground. The blow to her soul and the trauma to her heart were enough for Lei Jixin to remember this moment forever. As long as Chu Hen was around, it would be difficult for her to raise her head again. Hugh, a bleak, cold wind blew through the cliffs of the Nanfei's heavenly tomb. At this moment, Chu Hen had already left, leaving behind only a mess and various onlookers who could not recover from their shock for a long time. What a terrifying guy. I can still feel a chill running down my spine. That's right. I didn't expect him to break through to the Saint King realm at the last moment. Lei Yuan's death was really unjust. I don't think it was unjust at all. Have you ever seen anyone who could kill a powerhouse of the same realm right after breaking through to the Saint King realm? This boy must have come prepared. It can be said that Lei Yuan's defeat was inevitable. Everyone could not help but sigh and shake their heads. The other genius on the professional list, Li Donghe, also looked at the chaotic battlefield with a complicated expression. The broken pillars, the cracked earth, the broken chains, and the scattered weapons. After witnessing the miserable end of Lei Yuan and the others, Li Donghe could not help but feel a lingering fear. He had taken a trip to the gates of hell. Perhaps Chu Hen had forgotten about him, or perhaps he had ignored him. But at least he managed to keep his life and did not follow in Lei Yuan's footsteps. Li Donghe looked up at the sky filled with rolling clouds and muttered to himself, "The wind cloud list is going to change drastically." On the edge of a steep cliff, Chu Hen sat cross-legged with his hands flat on his knees. His eyes were slightly closed, and he breathed in and out evenly, almost at the same speed as the surrounding air flow. At this moment, he seemed to have fused with heaven and earth, like a boulder on the side of a cliff, unwavering and motionless. At this time, Chu Hen's spiritual consciousness had already thoroughly penetrated into the true essence Sifu. Inside the purple palace, the sun, the moon, and the stars rotated, the rivers and forests were lush, and the dense spiritual power was like a dense mist, emitting a neon glow under the beautiful rays of light. Compared to when he was at the ancient eternal stage, the true essence Sifu had opened up a space that was like the territory of a great nation. Exuberant vitality filled every corner of this independent world. The spirit was beautiful, the rocks were rugged, and all the mountains, rivers, suns, moons, and the aura of all living things were present. The vast river of true origin energy was like a source of life, surging with a majestic aura. Suddenly, a strange energy rhythm stacked up, and the river of true essence was like evaporating water vapor, thousands of thin fibers rising up. The soft fibers intertwined with each other, then transformed into a human form. In the blink of an eye, a purple palace saint soul, that was identical to Chu Hen's, appeared. Compared to the solid body, the saint's soul had a kind of extraordinary spiritual qi, and its slightly opened eyes seemed to hide the light of the stars, very bright. Chu Hen could clearly feel the changes in the saint's soul. It was not just in terms of strength, but in terms of the entire level. The power of the saint's soul seemed to be integrated into every inch of his body, and was no longer limited to the true essence Sifu. Phew! After a long breath, Chu Hen, who was in meditation, slowly opened his eyes. The surrounding spiritual qi was like a whale sucking in water, and a slight energy fluctuation was triggered, causing the space to faintly distort. "Congratulations!" A soft female voice came from behind. Chu Hen lifted his gaze slightly and turned his body to look back. Under a pine tree behind the cliff, a tall and slender figure walked over. Her exquisite face was full of spiritual qi, and her pair of ruby-like eyes were a little enchanting. The moment their eyes met, they could not help but smile. "You've reached the Saint King realm, and the road to becoming a true powerhouse has opened. Congratulations!" Chu Hen nodded slightly and said with a smile. "Thank you. What's wrong? Why are you so calm?" Mo Qingli asked, a little surprised. From Chu Hen's expression, he did not seem to be particularly excited. "You're fine, I'm very happy," Chu Hen replied. After saying that, he turned around, a bit of coldness surging in his eyes. In his mind, he could not help but think of the arrogant figure that exuded a monstrous dark aura. Even the Saint King realm genius of the Han Yun sect, Izhou, had said that the probability of him and Chu Hen defeating that person was less than 30%. The person that Huang Fu Hao called senior brother Xiao Yao had even killed another genius on the stellar list with one move from 100 miles away. Looking at Chu Hen's slightly sharp eyes, Emo Qingli raised her eyebrows, but did not continue to ask. Obviously, during the period when she was chasing the formless monarch blade's soul, Chu Hen must have encountered something unknown. And this encounter must have stimulated some of his sensitive emotions. "How do you feel now?" Emo Qingli asked. "Not bad, I feel that the power flowing in my body is much stronger than before." Chu Hen raised his hand slightly and clenched his fist. With a light cracking sound of his knuckles, an invisible cyclone spread out, causing the surrounding space to faintly tremble. A Saint King Realm Master who could display earth-shattering power with just a wave of their hand could be called a true master. Emo Qingli smiled lightly. "That's because your Purple Mansion Saint's soul no longer exists only in your true Yuan Purple Palace. The power of the Saint's soul has already merged with your body." Chu Hen was slightly puzzled. "What other changes?" "The role of the Saint's soul is beyond your imagination. After reaching the Saint King realm, the power of the Saint's soul will gradually manifest. In addition to strengthening the true Yuan, it will also merge with your body. Even if your body is severely damaged, or your limbs are destroyed, you can rebuild them." "Body repair?" Chu Hen's eyes lit up. "Yes, as your cultivation becomes stronger, the Saint's soul will be able to perfectly merge with your body. As you progress further, not only will your limbs be able to grow back, even your broken internal organs will be able to be repaired. If you reach the peak of the Saint King realm, even if your body is destroyed, as long as your Saint's soul is not destroyed, you can continue to exist in this world and wait for the opportunity to be resurrected." Hearing Emo Qingli's words, Chu Hen's heart was moved. Even if the body was destroyed, the Saint's soul could still survive. In a sense, this was almost immortal. "What is above the Saint King realm?" Chu Hen asked softly. Emo Qingli paused slightly, her red eyes staring deeply into the other's eyes. Her red lips parted slightly, clearly spitting out a few words. "The Great Saint King realm, the Great Saint King realm." It sounded like it was only one word's difference from the Saint King realm, but from Emo Qingli's tone and expression, it was enough to show the great difference between the two. The current you is still too far away from that step. Right now, your Saint's soul has just merged with your body. I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to even regrow your broken limbs, let alone immortality. Emo Qingli poured a bucket of cold water over him. Chu Hen awkwardly rubbed his nose and smiled. Shortly after, he casually asked, "What level was your cultivation at your peak?" Looking at Chu Hen's curious eyes, Emo Qingli turned around, a complicated look faintly appearing in her eyes. "I was only one step away from the Great Saint King realm." Chu Hen was obviously startled. "Just one step away from the Great Saint King realm? What a pity." Emo Qingli did not respond, a bit of gloominess overflowing from her brow, as if she was recalling the past and had fallen into a momentary daze. "But I believe in you." Chu Hen stood up and said seriously, "It won't be long before you return to your peak." Emo Qingli was stunned for a moment. When their eyes met and she received the sincerity in Chu Hen's eyes, her heart faintly moved. Immediately, Emo Qingli looked to the side and said, "I was just about to say this. I think we'll have to act separately for a while." Why? The Chaos Demon Domain is a ruin left behind 10,000 years ago, and there are indeed many powerful inheritances left behind. If we act separately, we'll have more opportunities. Emo Qingli explained. Chu Hen nodded. Now that he had reached the Saint King realm, he believed that Emo Qingli's cultivation would only be higher than his. If the two of them wanted to break through again, the resources they would need would definitely not be the same. Instead of that, it was better to act separately, which would also give Emo Qingli more opportunities to restore her strength. "Okay, be careful," Chu Hen said. Emo Qingli looked at him meaningfully, as if she wanted to say something but was hesitant. Previously, in the non-phase heavenly tomb, she felt that Chu Hen's aura was a bit cold, especially when he killed Lei Yuan and the others. There was a kind of murderous aura. Moreover, this murderous aura seemed to be similar to the one that caused the massacre in the Eastern Victory Province. Could it be that the demon god's power in Chu Hen's body had awakened? Could Qi Tianling's murderous aura be unable to be suppressed again? A trace of doubt rose in Emo Qingli's heart. If that was the case, what was the reason behind it? Or was it just because he had just obtained the power of Limitless? Why are you looking at me like that? Can't bear to part with me? Chu Hen said with a smile. Emo Qingli recovered, looked at the other party's gentle appearance, smiled slightly, and shook her head, thinking that she might be overthinking things. After all, when Qi Tianling's power erupted, it was far more than this. All right, then let's separate first, Emo Qingli said. Chu Hen nodded in agreement. I hope that when you return, your strength will have returned to its peak. Emo Qingli smiled and then said, Right, there's one more thing I want to give you. What is it? As soon as her voice fell, Emo Qingli raised her jade-white hand and a burst of extraordinary aura burst forth. Beams of intertwined arcs of light overflowed from her palm. *chi-chi, a violent sound spread out. Chu Hen's eyes widened and he subconsciously blurted out, This is Hellfire Heavenly Lightning? The wantonly moving electric arcs were as active as tiny horned dragons. The electric arcs, which were filled with an extremely strong power, were swaying with dark green flames. This was the power that Lei Yuan previously controlled, Hellfire Heavenly Lightning. However, the Hellfire Heavenly Lightning in Emo Qingli's hand was a little special. In the middle of it was a flickering green flame that continuously overflowed with the power of lightning, giving off the feeling that it was a small source of power. How could this be? Chu Hen was even more surprised. It's a special type of divine lightning item, so I just conveniently took it back. Emo Qingli glanced at him with a little disdain. The Hellfire Heavenly Lightning was a powerful power derived from the fusion of the sacred body's bloodline and the 1,000-year Hellfire. Especially under Lei Yuan's lifelong efforts to strengthen it, it had already condensed a soul of lightning, becoming a divine item of the same grade as the Heart of Lightning. Chu Hen didn't know what it was, so he ignored it. And Emo Qingli would not be like him. She had eyes but couldn't see a golden jewel. If Emo Qingli didn't take it away, the Heart of Hellfire Heavenly Lightning would have either been taken away by someone else or slowly disappeared along with Lei Yuan's corpse. I originally wanted to keep it for myself, but after thinking about it, I decided to follow you. Emo Qingli casually threw the Heart of Hellfire Heavenly Lightning to Chu Hen. Chu Hen raised his hand and received it. Feeling the power in his palm that was as wild as a wild beast, he raised his gaze and said, You can keep it for yourself. No need, refining it takes time, it should be easier for you. But, I'm leaving, make good use of it. Without waiting for Chu Hen to finish, Emo Qingli turned and left. Screech! A bright bird's cry rang through the sky. An illusory figure of a mythical bird flew across the sky, then turned into a ray of light and leaped into the sky. Watching the figure disappear into the horizon, the corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up into a faint smile. Thank you. Chapter 1339. After separating from Emo Qingli near the non-phase heavenly tomb, Chu Hen did not stop at all. He followed the martial sect's team and prepared to gather. After delaying for so many days, he did not know if the martial sect had already arrived at the location of the inheritance ruins. In addition, he did not know if Long Xuanxuang and Yi Yao had returned. Calculating the time, it should be about time for Yi Yao to set off on her way back. Thinking of this, Chu Hen could not help but speed up his pace. Whoosh! His figure was like lightning. In the sky above the lush jungle, Chu Hen flew across the sky like a bolt of lightning, drawing a sharp shuttle light. compared to the speed of the ancient eternal realm, it was completely incomparable. After stepping into the Saint King realm, Chu Hen's movement speed was more than 10 times faster than before. Moreover, his sixth senses and perception were far better than before. Within a radius of hundreds of miles, even the slightest movement of grass was under Chu Hen's perception. The mountains and rivers in front of him were magnificent, the mountains were steep, and the flat river valley was like a dragon crouching on the ground. Chu Hen felt his horizons widen, and his mind was refreshed. The gloomy and vicious aura that had accumulated in his heart had quietly dissipated. Suddenly, a slight sound came from the depths of the quiet jungle below. Subconsciously glancing over, through the lush branches, he could vaguely see a few human corpses scattered in the forest through the gaps of the leaves. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly. Although it was normal to see dead people in the holy war, the vigilance in his heart still made him fly down and jump into the forest. The moment he landed on the ground, the smell of blood in the air made Chu Hen frown. At a glance, there were corpses everywhere. There were at least 20 to 30 corpses. The dried blood solidified on the ground, forming dark red stripes. Looking at the scene in front of him, Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and his face became solemn. Among these people, there were many who were wearing the special clothes of the martial sect. Chu Hen, junior brother Chu Hen. Right at this moment, an extremely weak voice entered Chu Hen's ears like the buzzing of a mosquito. Chu Hen looked to the side and saw a man covered in blood on the side of a swamp not far to his left. His right shoulder was almost gone, and he was struggling to move his broken body. Chu Hen rushed over and bent down to help him up. However, his injuries were fatal, and there was no hope of saving him. Junior brother Chu Hen, you're finally here. Seeing Chu Hen, that person's eyes lit up. You're all right, it's really great. As the man spoke, he extended his blood-stained and muddy arm and held Chu Hen's palm with a trembling hand. Go, junior brother Chu Hen, the martial sect is finished. Go quickly, you're our hope, go quickly. Hearing the other party's intermittent but extremely urgent words, a cold glint surged in Chu Hen's eyes. Who is it? He coldly shouted. Lingyun sect. His voice suddenly stopped, and the moment he finished saying these 3 words, the man's head powerlessly fell to the ground. His single hand was still tightly grabbing onto Chu Hen's palm. His last words of advice had used up the last bit of his strength. Lingyun sect. The moment these 3 words entered his ears, Chu Hen's eyes became as sharp as a knife. Although Chu Hen had only heard Wang Li and the others mention these 3 words once, it was enough for him to remember this sect. The Lingyun sect was especially powerful. For thousands of years, they had been using brute force to subdue a group of middle-upper level sects and clans to continuously expand their own forces. This kind of behavior, which was almost like a whale swallowing, made the Lingyun sect develop very quickly. They were even getting closer to the War God Palace. The enmity between the Lingyun sect and the martial sect originated from this. Among the first-rate forces in the Midland, the martial sect could be said to have the shortest history. Naturally, they became the target of the Lingyun sect. However, the martial sect's refusal also made the Lingyun sect hate them. In the last Holy War call, the martial sect's team had a very beautiful lineup. They had more than 10 top-notch geniuses with limited high-grade Saint Physiques and 3 monsters with limited supreme-grade Saint Physique. Such a lineup was especially eye-catching among the many first-rate forces at that time. However, such a team with such great potential had actually suffered an unprecedented heavy blow during the last Holy War. More than 2/3 of the thousands of martial sect disciples were killed or injured. The most vicious thing was that all the geniuses with limited Saint Physiques had their cultivation destroyed, without exception. Without a doubt, this was a fatal blow to the martial sect. To those disciples with unlimited potential and painstakingly pursuing the path of martial arts, this was crueler than death. And the culprit of all this was none other than the Lingyun sect. The targeted revenge almost destroyed the martial sect. If the leader of the martial sect, Dongfang Hengji, hadn't been struggling and created a magical object like the Star Dream Realm, the martial sect might have been destroyed long ago. It had been more than 100 years since the last holy war. The enmity between the Lingyun sect and the martial sect had once again continued to this day. The Lingyun sect must make history repeat itself. Once again, the martial sect was trapped in fire and water. In an instant, a bone-piercing coldness appeared in Chu Hen's eyes. He lowered his head and looked at the senior brother in front of him, who he couldn't even call out, but wanted him to leave as soon as possible. Chu Hen's eyes couldn't help but be filled with coldness. Chu Hen gently put down the senior brother's arm. The hostility in his heart was like a lit flame, gradually burning. At this moment, accompanied by sharp shouts and angry roars of panic, faintly reached Chu Hen's ears from the depths of the forest. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and there seemed to be a purple light flashing in his deep pupils. "Run, Wu Lauer, don't die in front of me." "What are you talking about?" "Ding Xiaoyun, the fortune-teller said that I, Wu Mian, will live at least 800 years. "Really? If even you can live 800 years, then I can definitely live 900 years. More than a dozen hurried figures fled in the forest like a herd of beasts. Their figures were battered, and there were many injuries on their bodies. Blood continuously soaked their clothes, turning into patches of blood marks. Bang! A delicate figure stumbled and slipped, falling to the ground powerlessly. Xiaoyan, a thin man who was panting hurriedly, stepped forward to support her. "Wild monkey, I'm out of strength. Don't worry about me, I can't walk anymore." The delicate woman had almost fallen into despair. Her face was ashen, as if she did not want to struggle anymore. "We won't leave you behind, let me carry you," a strong man quickly said. "No, Iron Gate, you're injured too. I'll drag you down." "Don't talk nonsense." Wu Mian and Ding Xiaoyun also hurriedly turned around. "We'll help you." Whoosh! Before he could catch his breath, a gust of ghastly and piercingly cold air swept over from behind like a torrent. "Hee, I've caught up to you. You have to run faster, little mice." The strange laughter that was full of mockery was like a group of cats playing with Hausi. They were not in a hurry to kill their prey, but to slowly torture it, causing it to fall into endless despair and fear. This group of bastards! The eyes of the martial sex people were red with anger. Swish, 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 a continuous stream of air whistled over, and figures that emitted a cold aura flashed out of the forest. They were holding chain-like weapons in their hands, and there was a curved blade tied to the tip of the chain. It was as if the people in front of them were no different from prey in the forest. "Someone seems to be cursing me. Looks like I can't let you die so easily." Hee, one of them let out a cold sneer. At the same time, he waved his hand, and the chain in his hand flew out like a long dragon. Chi! The sharp weapon pierced through the flesh, and along with the painful cry of the martial sex disciple, the blade at the tip of the chain pierced deeply into the disciple's shoulder. The martial sex disciple was forcefully dragged back like an animal waiting to be slaughtered, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Hearing the cries of their companions behind them, the people in front struggled in their hearts. Each of them gritted their teeth in hatred. "Let's go." "Hee, I caught another one." That person laughed proudly. "The rest are mine." "That's not for sure." The people behind them completely treated this chase as a killing game, and each of them had a devilish smile on their faces. "You must choose a good place to reincarnate in your next life. Don't be stupid enough to enter the martial sect again." Hee. Two figures flew in the air, waving the chains in their hand. The martial sex people were furious and terrified as the dangerous aura quickly approached them. Swoosh, swoosh. Just as the iron chain was about to hook onto the target, two extremely sharp flowing light arrows suddenly flew out from the bushes at the side. Chi, blood splattered everywhere, and the flowing light arrows pierced through the throats of the two pursuers. A short and hurried scream reverberated, and the two fell to the ground. Blood spurted out from their throats like a fountain. There's still a dishonest Housie hiding, looking at their fallen companions. The people from the Lingyun sect behind them had a cold expression. The leader's gaze was cold. He then raised his hand, and a fierce and overbearing palm force swept out. Bang! Rocks exploded, and the grass and trees were flattened. Even more than 10 trees exploded, and a delicate figure was sent flying tens of meters away. She fell heavily on the ground, and she was in a sorry state. It's a delicate female Housie. The people from the Lingyun sect laughed sinisterly. It's senior sister Ningyu. Oh no. The martial sect's disciple who was running in front was anxious. Ningyu. She was the genius who was ranked 12th on the martial sect's Heaven Martial Leaderboard previously. Her assassination skills were top-notch. The arrows that she released were crystal origin arrows, and they had a strong penetrating force. However, Ningyu had lost the elegance of a top-notch assassin. Heavily injured, she looked like a wounded wolf cub. Her originally pretty and delicate face was now covered in blood, and the exquisite crossbow she used had also fallen to the side. Although she was in a desperate situation, there was no fear in Ningyu's eyes. The moment she saved her companion, she had already prepared for the worst. It's my first time killing such a delicate little woman. I'm a little reluctant. The leader was not in a hurry to chase after the people who were running in front. Instead, he approached Ningyu step by step. Ningyu bit her red lips so hard that blood was flowing out from the corner of her mouth. Just kill me if you want. Cut the crap. You've already sent yourself to me. Do you think I'll kill you so easily? The leader's smile sent chills down one's spine. At the same time, Wu Mian, who was walking in front, suddenly turned around as though he had gone mad. The true origin energy in his body burst out without any reservation. Horror dawned on Ding Xiaoyun, Wild Monkey, and the rest. Wu Mian, I'll fight it out with them. Wu Mian's eyes were bloodshot. He was furious as he shouted, I, Wu Mian, have been trash since I was young. My death doesn't matter. Don't bother about me. Wu Mian, let's go. Don't let me die in vain. Wu Mian was enraged like a mad wolf. His powerful true origin energy shrouded his surroundings like a whirlwind as he pounced towards the people from the Lingyun sect. Ding Xiaoyun, Wild Monkey, and the rest of the martial sect's people were enraged. Tears of blood almost flowed out of their eyes. The people from the Lingyun sect looked disdainful. This is interesting. Since your courage is commendable, I'll smash your body into pieces. The leader looked at Wu Mian as if he was looking at an ant. He stretched out his palm, and with a violent wave of qi stacked up, and a torrent-like aura instantly crushed the true inner force outside Wu Mian's body. Wu Mian's expression changed drastically. He instantly fell into the shadow of the Grim Reaper. Following that, a majestic palm came crashing down like a huge wave. Wu Mian could smell the scent of death. Wu Mian, Ding Xiaoyun and the rest were enraged. Even Ningyu could not help but close her eyes. Her face was filled with despair. At that moment, a cyclone that was as swift as a storm swept over. Bang! A heavy explosion reverberated in all directions. The ground cracked and exploded. Rocks were turned into powder and the airwave was strong. The palm that was pouncing towards Wu Mian was crushed less than 2 meters away from him. What? Everyone was shocked. Without waiting for everyone to react, in the next instant, there was another muffled sound. The leader of the group from the Lingyun sect instantly exploded into a mist of blood. His entire body exploded into pieces. His limbs and torso were scattered all over the place. Clang! There seemed to be a thunderstorm rolling between heaven and earth. Ningyu, Wu Mian, Ding Xiaoyun, and the rest narrowed their eyes and their hearts trembled. Shrouded in the chaotic true essence cyclone, in front of Wu Mian, there was a figure standing straight like a cold spear. An icy cold aura spread out, and an invisible pressure made it impossible for anyone to move. Strands of purple light patterns flowed out of his body, and the sharp outline of his handsome face showed the sharpness of a guillotine. Chu Hen. Chapter 1340. Bang! The ground split open and rocks were crushed into pieces. The piercingly cold aura was like that of a king as it instantly crushed the entire area. The chaotic true energy vortex was like a small whirlpool as it revolved. Everyone who was suppressed by this aura to the point that they could not move had their eyes wide open as their faces were filled with dense shock. Bloody mist swirled about as the four limbs that had exploded wantonly flew about. The people from the martial sect as well as the other people from the Lingyun sect were all stunned. Chu Hen. Ningyu clenched both of her hands into fists as her blood-stained face could not help but stretch out. Wu Mian, who was standing behind her, was trembling all over. Looking at that familiar figure, the shadow of death that had enveloped Wu Mian immediately disappeared completely. Looks like the fortune teller did not lie to me. Wu Mian was like a deflated balloon as his entire body almost collapsed. However, the ice-cold vortex was becoming more and more powerful as a formless baleful aura spread out like a cold current from the deep sea as it rushed towards the other people from the Lingyun sect. The faces of the people from the Lingyun sect were already pale as they completely lost the contempt and disdain they had earlier. You? Who are you? The person standing at the very front asked in a deep voice. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth slightly raised as a deep and cold light surged in his eyes. Go ask the King of Hell. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Hen raised his palm and condensed it. The instant his 5 fingers bent, a wave of power that emitted an ancient aura spread out. After that, an illusory black shadow blade shot out explosively. The black shadow blade's entire body was surrounded by dense chi patterns. Once it was released, the air immediately set off an incomparably restless trembling sound. Hiss, without any ability to react, the black shadow blade directly pierced through that person's chest. The air flow was like an injection as fresh blood rapidly rushed to the back. The opened wound quickly expanded. That person's pupils violently shrank as he let out a short and hurried scream. The tyrannical power that originated from the shadow blade once again disintegrated the opponent's body. In an instant, the remaining people were completely scared out of their wit. They did not even have the intention to stay any longer as there was only one thought left in their minds. Retreat. Go! However, how could Chu Hen just let them go? In the same second that the people of the cloud-soaring sect turned around, accompanied by a distorted space, an ice-cold aura enveloped them. The purple flames that appeared out of nowhere were like rising tsunami waves, directly pouncing on them. Shrill screams reverberated in the dark forest. The flesh and blood of more than 10 people evaporated at a speed visible to the naked eye in the demonic purple flame. They were burned into dried bones, and finally turned into dust and debris, disappearing without a trace. In an instant, he had killed more than 10 experts of the Lingyun sect. The position of the hunter and the escapee had changed. Seeing this, Wu Mian, Ding Xiaoyun and the other martial ancestor disciples all heaved a sigh of relief. Their reddened eyes were filled with joy. Soon after, everyone rushed toward Chu Hen. Junior brother Chu Hen, you're back. Junior brother Chu Hen, it's great that you're alright. Where have you been these days? When they saw Chu Hen, their eyes faintly revealed a bit of light. Even though the leader of this sacred war was Qiu Xingyi, after the battle with the 5 Elements Divine Clan, Chu Hen had become the true core in their hearts. Chu Hen looked back at the crowd, his expression not at all relaxed. Where are the others? He asked. Everyone's eyes immediately dimmed, shrouded in a gloom that could not be resolved. It's over. Our martial ancestor is really finished. A disciple muttered, his entire person sinking into dejection. Wu Mian, Ding Xiaoyun and the rest gritted their teeth, their eyes filled with hatred. 2 days ago, we were ambushed by the soaring cloud sect on our way. Immediately, a martial arts sect disciple's eyes shone with a cold light as he narrated. Due to the huge difference in strength between the two sides, we were quickly surrounded by the soaring cloud sect. The situation was too chaotic, and Senior Brother Chio had no way to turn the tide. He could only give the order for us to break out of the encirclement with all our might. Only a few of us survived. Only a few of us survived. They did not dare to believe that these words would come from Chiu Xingyi's mouth. As arrogant as he was, he dared to declare war against the Five Elements Divine clan alone. Now that he had said these words, it was as if he had fallen into a situation where there was no chance of turning the tables. It was truly despairing. "Where are they?" Chu Hen asked coldly. Wu Mian, Ding Xiaoyun and the rest all shook their heads. Lake of Desolation. A cold female voice came from behind Chu Hen. Everyone turned to look, only to see Ning Yu looking at Chu Hen with determination. When I escaped, everyone was trapped in the Lake of Desolation. The cloud-soaring sect didn't seem to be in a hurry to get rid of us. They weren't in a hurry to get rid of everyone. Why? Since they had been intercepted for so long, there was no reason for them not to attack. It can't be. Ding Xiaoyun clenched his fists, his expression somewhat terrified. The others were stunned at first, then they reacted. These damn dogs. They want to use the same trick again, to destroy all the sacred physique bloodline boundaries. They're simply too vicious. Anger, hatred, as well as great unwillingness and helplessness, surged into everyone's hearts. During the previous sacred war, the cloud-soaring sect had used this inhumane and vicious method to destroy all the genius disciples of the martial sect with sacred physique. Now they were humiliated once again. It really made people gnash their teeth in hatred. Despite their anger, everyone could only helplessly sigh and shake their heads. In front of the cloud-soaring sect, even if there were too many unwillingness, the martial sect could only accept their fate. Where is the exact location of the Lake of Desolation? At this moment, Chu Hen's calm voice reached everyone's ears. Junior Brother Chu Hen, are you going back? No, the cloud-soaring sect is too powerful. Even if we go back, we'll just be throwing our lives away. If there was a chance of survival, they would not be so discouraged, but there was really nothing they could do. However, Chu Hen's expression did not change. I can go alone, you guys stay. What a joke. Wu Mian waved his hand and shouted. If we live together. If we die together. If the martial sect perishes, I, Wu Mian, will not stand by. Chu Hen, I'll go with you. Second Brother Wu, don't even think about being a hero. I, Ding Xiaoyun, am not afraid of death. I'll go too. We'll go too. In an instant, the hesitation in everyone's eyes turned into indomitable determination. Although they had just escaped from the brink of death, when they saw Chu Hen's deep and determined eyes, they could not help but want to follow him and fight their way back to the battlefield of death. Under everyone's resolute gaze, Chu Hen nodded his head. Who knows how to set up a teleportation rune array? He asked. Everyone looked at each other. Soon, two young figures, a man and a woman, walked forward. The two of us know. Sensing the Reiki energy fluctuations overflowing from their bodies, it was clear that they were both rune masters. The man's Reiki energy had reached the level of a zone-level rune master, while the woman's was slightly weaker, but barely reached the level of a zone-level rune master. How far can it teleport? Chu Hen continued to ask. The two looked at each other, and the man said, without a rune array receiving point, the teleportation distance will not be ideal, but with a rune array receiving point, the effect will be much better. As a zone-level rune master, Chu Hen naturally had a clear understanding of rune arrays. Under normal circumstances, a teleportation rune array would need to be set up at two different locations to resonate with the power of the rune arrays in two different areas, thereby using the power of the rune arrays to teleport. This was also the principle of a teleportation rune array. However, if there was only one teleportation rune array, the effect of the teleportation would be greatly weakened, or even unable to function. Chu Hen looked up and asked tentatively, "Did you leave a receiving point near the Sky Lake?" The man hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "The situation was too urgent, I did not have the time to set up a receiving point." The other party's answer was not unexpected. Indeed, in that situation, everyone was in danger, and the disciples of the martial sect who had fallen into a desperate situation were frantically looking for an opportunity to escape. How could there be a chance to set up a rune array? I have. At this moment, the young woman suddenly said. Everyone's eyes lit up. Chu Hen also raised his eyebrows. "Oh? Are you sure?" The woman nodded cautiously. "My family heirloom hexagon prism was lost in the Sky Lake when I was escaping. There are all the rune techniques I set up in it, including a teleportation receiving point." "Very good." A glimmer of light appeared in Chu Hen's eyes. "Then you will take the lead, and he will assist you in setting up the teleportation rune array here." The two nodded in agreement. Since the situation was urgent, Chu Hen had to reach the Sky Lake as soon as possible. A teleportation rune array was the most ideal way to travel between the two places. Right at this moment, a young man standing at the back suddenly walked forward and said with a slightly weak voice, "Junior brother Chu Hen. Senior brother Pei Yi is currently trapped in the star-gathering forest." The moment the name Pei Yi was mentioned, everyone's emotions became a little sensitive. The person who spoke was obviously a disciple of the West Sky Peak Academy. Everyone understood what he meant. He hoped that Chu Hen would first rescue Pei Yi, who was the closest to him. However, the moment the person said this, the others were instantly dissatisfied. Why save him? You're just biting the hand that feeds you." "That's right, why bother with this kind of person? We don't have time to waste." Wu Mian was the most furious. When Chu Hen had just entered the martial ancestor realm, Pei Yi had always been against him. Later on, when the sacred war began, he was still opposing him. Moreover, Chu Hen had disregarded the past and given him a Supreme Saint explosive blood pill, but Pei Yi still did not show any gratitude. Pei Yi's various actions had aroused the dissatisfaction of most people. The disciple who spoke immediately fell silent. He knew how deep the enmity between Chu Hen and Pei Yi was. Realizing that he had said something wrong, he took a few steps back. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly as he asked the two Grandmaster Inscription Masters, "How long will it take to complete the teleportation rune array?" The young lady glanced at the people around her. "We don't have many people, so a small teleportation rune array is enough. With senior brother Jing Wei's help, it'll take about an hour." Chu Hen nodded and immediately said, "I'll be back in an hour." "What?" The moment the words left his mouth, everyone was shocked. "Junior brother Chu Hen, are you really going to save that bastard?" Wu Mian scolded hatefully. Chu Hen did not say much. Instead, he said to the West Sky Peak Academy disciple, "Where's the exact location of the star-gathering forest?" The disciple was still a little stunned. He was surprised and happy, but he was also a little at a loss. It's. Chapter 1341. Birds and beasts flew away in fright, and the earth trembled. In a ravine surrounded by mountains, there were many strange stone pillars erected all over the place. The stone pillars were uneven and varied in length. Some were 100 feet tall, while others were only a dozen meters tall. All the stone pillars faced the sky and were perfectly straight, like a strange stone forest. At a glance, the interior of the stone forest was winding and rugged. There were countless narrow paths, giving one the feeling of a maze. Even if one stood in the air, it would be difficult to see every corner. Bang! A tumbling wave of qi mixed with the mighty shockwaves of Zhen Yuan surged out from the side of the stone forest. Several battered and exhausted figures were sent flying away like sandbags, crashing into the surrounding stone pillars. Then, they fell to the ground along with the collapsed boulders. Ugh! A few people spat out warm blood one after another. Thick panic and seriousness surged on their faces. Roar! Immediately after, A ferocious roar that shook the heavens resounded. An enormous sharp arm claw pressed toward a man in gorgeous embroidered clothes with the power to split the sky. "Get lost!" The man in embroidered clothes revealed a disdainful sneer. Then, he raised his right hand in an unhurried manner. A rainbow glow flourished in his palm, and an intense energy fluctuation overflowed. A bitingly cold broadsword immediately rushed out from the rapidly distorting rainbow glow. Blood rainbow sword, swoosh! The broadsword, which was surrounded by a dense rainbow glow, pierced through the air like a beam of rainbow light that cut through the sky. It instantly penetrated the sharp dragon arm claw. Bang! The irresistible divine rainbow broadsword directly tore a several-meter-wide hole in the dragon arm claw like a hot knife through butter. Powerful air currents rapidly leaked out. The broadsword's offensive did not decrease as it dragged a beam of rainbow light across the sky and solidly struck a figure behind the giant claw. Bang! The frightening power was comparable to the pressure of a meteorite. A powerful red halo spread out. The body of the person who was struck trembled. At the same time, he spat out a large mouthful of blood and heavily fell from the sky. He smashed through 7 to 8 stone pillars in a row before landing on the ground. Senior Brother Pei. The people who had been thrown to the ground turned pale with fright. Before they could get up and fight again, a majestic force that was comparable to a mountain instantly crushed them to the point that they couldn't move. Then, more than a dozen powerful and indifferent figures appeared, either standing in the air or on top of the stone pillars. Their faces were filled with indifference and arrogance towards the weak. In their eyes, the people on the ground were already fish on the chopping block. "I was wondering how you could last so long against me. So it's because you took the Supreme Saint explosive blood pill." A playful and arrogant voice came down from the sky. The young man, who was dressed in luxurious clothes and exuded a noble aura, looked down at Pei Yi. The latter staggered up from the ground and stood up while withstanding the powerful pressure from the other party. Pei Yi's chest was covered in blood, and his entire face was extremely gloomy. His eyes were crimson red, and his body was surrounded by blood-colored steam that seemed like flames. "Zheng Xiao. Kill me if you want, he. The man in embroidered clothes crossed his arms in front of him while he used his other hand to support his chin. "After playing hide-and-seek with you for so long, I won't let you go to hell so easily." He paused for a moment before he continued, "Since you possess the bloodline limit of the Qilin Saint body and your cultivation base has reached the peak of the 9th level eternal stage, it would be a pity to kill you. Why don't you follow me from now on? I just happen to lack a dog by my side." "Hee." Pei Yi sneered. He raised his head and retorted disdainfully, "Do you think you're worthy? You're not willing?" Jing Xiao raised his eyebrows. The playful expression on his face became even more apparent. "That's all right. Compared to letting you be my dog, I'd rather see you lose your bloodline and your cultivation base. You're worse than a dog." The moment these words left his mouth, the martial sect's disciples present shuddered. Pei Yi's eyes turned cold as he clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. Buzz, the blood-colored steam that rose from his body became even more intense. It was so dense that it looked like a pile of fire clouds. However, Zheng Zhao's expression became even more joyful as excitement filled his eyes. "Are you angry? Ha 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 ha. You simply don't know the difference between us. Just as well, I need to sacrifice your sacred Qilin physique, and the blood that flows with the power of the supreme sacred explosive blood pill to the blood rainbow sword. Thank you for your help. In a few days, I'll be able to break through to the Saint King realm." As soon as he finished speaking, Zheng Xiao raised his hand and waved. The blood-red sword that was floating in the air once again shot toward Pei Yi. Whoosh! The sound of vibrations overlapped as the high-speed blood-red sword shone brightly. At the same time, the light that lingered around the sword quickly turned into the illusory shadow of a blood python. The blood python opened its bloody mouth, revealing its sharp fangs that were like sharp barbs. The chill it exuded was terrifying. The broadsword that was surrounded by the blood-colored light was like a deadly beam of demonic light as it shot down. Pei Ye's pupils rapidly shrank to the size of a needle. Under the divine might of the blood-red sword, Pei Ye's legs seemed to be entangled by invisible vines. He was unable to move at all. The ice-cold, sharp sword attacked the center of his heart. The sword chi that originated from the tip of the blade quickly tore apart Pei Ye's clothes and flesh. Streaks of blood immediately flowed out. The illusory blood python was like a ferocious beast that wanted to devour Pei Ye, its destructive aura pouring out in all directions. The blood-colored light surged in all directions as the ground trembled uneasily. At this moment, Pei Ye seemed to be in the middle of an evil, ancient blood altar. What awaited him was an incomparably miserable end. The martial arts faction disciples' eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, but they could not bear to watch. However, a cold, complacent smile had already appeared on Jing Zhao's face. Once the divine sword drank blood, it would bring him great benefit. Whoosh! Suddenly, right when the blood-colored broadsword was just a finger's length away from Pei Ye's chest and was about to pierce through his heart, a shadow blade that gave off a dark aura slashed through the sky without any warning. For example, the flowing light arrow. Everyone only saw a beam of light streak across their eyes. Bang! With a trembling sound, the shadow blade accurately intercepted the blood-red broadsword. An overwhelming aura came crashing down as the endlessly sharp black shadow blade forcefully pierced through the blood-red broadsword. Whoosh! The resonant sound of the sharp weapon tugged at everyone's heartstrings and eardrums. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the black shadow blade sent the blood-red broadsword flying. It set off a strong gust of wind, and with a ding sound, it firmly nailed the blood-red broadsword to a stone pillar at the back. Everyone's heart was startled. The corners of Jing Zhao's eyes turned slightly cold as a murderous intent flowed in his eyes. He clenched his 5 fingers, and a formless control force flowed out. Buzz, the blood-red broadsword, which was nailed by the black shadow blade, trembled violently. The illusory blood python that coiled around the blade was also struggling and twisting its body. However, in the next second, the black shadow blade actually surged with an intense light. A circle of powerful black spiral-shaped airwaves spread out, and rays of light that resembled bandages quickly wrapped around the blood-red broadsword. Bang! The airwaves rose, and the malevolent blood python instantly exploded into fragments that filled the sky. At the same time, the blood-red broadsword's blade melted like magma, and it was completely devoured by the black light. In an instant, the blood-red broadsword's sharpness completely disappeared. Everyone from the martial faction and Ling Yun's sect was astonished. Meanwhile, Zheng Zhao's eyes were also wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. The blood-red broadsword was actually devoured? Boundless coldness quietly covered Zheng Zhao's entire face. An unconcealable murderous intent filled the sky. "Who are you, rascal? Get out here!" Whoosh! Before he finished speaking, a vast and majestic airflow swept through the entire star-gathering forest. The rapid airwaves were like a storm. Following that, a slender young figure with a grave and stern aura appeared in everyone's line of sight. Chapter 1342. The air was like a tide, and the wind blew through the forest. A formless and powerful pressure instantly spread out, enveloping everyone's body and mind. At the top of the stone pillar, Chu Hen's clothes fluttered in the wind. His eyes were like the stars as he looked at the Ling Yun sect members in front of him with an indifferent attitude. Hua! The hearts of the martial sect members trembled violently, and their eyes shone brightly. "Junior brother Chu Hen, why are you here?" Immediately after, another figure that was as light as a goose swept over from behind. "Senior sister Ning Yu. She's also here. Could it be that they are?" Seeing Chu Hen and Ning Yu arrive one after the other, everyone had an epiphany. On the other hand, Pei Yi, whose chest was stained with blood, had a deep look in his eyes. There was a hint of coldness and complexity between his brows. The blood-red sword that was about to drink blood was instantly devoured by the black shadow blade. Jing Xiao, who was shocked and furious, had a cold expression on his face. "Who are you?" The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled up slightly, and a cold light burst forth from his eyes. He smiled indifferently and said, Why waste your breath on someone who's about to die?" Zheng Zhao's eyes turned cold, and his killing intent became even stronger. "He's simply too arrogant." Zheng Xiao raised his hand and shouted, "Kill him, yes!" More than 10 Lingyun sect members responded in unison. Without another word, they all burst out with a strong and violent killing intent and rushed toward Chu Hen. The surging true origin energy was like a river that converged from all directions, and the space where Chu Hen was suddenly sank into an uneasy state. Not good. The martial sect disciples were slightly anxious, and they wanted to help. Before they could step forward, the Lingyun sect members had already launched an incomparably tight encirclement. Kill. Die. However, in the face of the crowd's encirclement, Chu Hen did not even look up. He raised one of his hands, and a strange blood-red flame rose from the center of his palm. The berserk aura that originated from Sun Luo's power rapidly gathered between his palms and arms. A strong wind suddenly rose between the heavens and the earth. Chu Hen's 5 fingers suddenly clenched. Bang! An incomparably heavy explosion sounded. In an instant, a circle of incomparably vigorous blood-red light rapidly surged out in all directions. It was like a violent shock wave sweeping out from the surface of the water. Wherever the blood-colored halo passed, the winds and clouds would change color, and the heavens and earth would tremble. Bang, bang, bang! A series of muffled sounds mixed with hurried screams rang out, as bloody mist after bloody mist exploded in the air above the star-gathering forest. Everyone who was swept by this terrifying shockwave was directly torn apart. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 experts of the cloud-soaring sect exploded high up in the sky. Everyone from the martial sect was shocked. Isn't this strength a bit too domineering? Jing Zhao's face turned pale as he realized how terrifying Chu Hen was. A thick threat of death immediately enveloped them. Without any hesitation, Zheng Xiao turned around and left. I'll let you off today, but everyone else is finished." After saying that, Zheng Xiao turned into a beam of light and leaped into the sky. However, at the same time, the black shadow blade that was nailed to the stone pillar suddenly left its original position. It streaked across the sky like an aurora, leaving behind a pair of illusory wings of light. As the chilly wind wreaked havoc in all directions, an indifferent voice quietly entered Zheng Zhao's ears. "I don't know about the others, but you are finished today, what?" Everyone's hearts were filled with shock. They saw that Chu Hen had already appeared in front of Zheng Xiao. His ghostly figure was like the Grim Reaper's shadow. Whoosh! The black shadow blade that streaked across the sky landed firmly in Chu Hen's palm. The arm that held the hilt of the sword released the might of a fiend god. The sword in the air was like the Alcade, and the extremely sharp sword Qi was like a resplendent crescent moon that pierced through the blue dome of heaven. Jing Zhao's pupils shrank, and his face, which was filled with fear, was illuminated by the dazzling sword Qi, causing it to become as pale as frost. The Alcade flashed past, and a flickering light flashed past. Qi, the sound of flesh being torn apart was indescribably intoxicating, and the scene of a scarlet rain of blood dancing in the wind was extremely breathtaking. Ningyu, Pei Yi, and the other martial ancestor sect disciples all stared with wide eyes, their faces filled with disbelief. Jing Xiao, who was a half-step Saint King, couldn't even take a single blow from Chu Hen? The shadow of death rapidly enveloped Zheng Xiao. Blood continuously flowed from Zheng Zhao's mouth as he stared at the unfamiliar figure in front of him with extreme fear. His voice trembled as he muttered, Saint King Realm." The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a playful smile. Bingo! The crescent moon-like rays of light streaked across Zheng Zhao's body. Accompanied by an ear-piercing tearing sound, Zheng Zhao's body was directly split into two. Amidst a rain of blood, the remains of his body and internal organs splattered everywhere. Kuang Dang, the martial ancestor sect disciples who witnessed this scene felt their minds rumble. It was as if a storm was descending upon them. A tyrannical cyclone revolved around Chu Hen's body. Only now did everyone clearly see the appearance of the black shadow blade. It was a divine rune sword with dense aura lingering around it. Strands of dark green light patterns swayed up and down the sword's body. The shape of the sword was somewhat similar to the blue rand sword Chu Hen had used before. However, the energy fluctuations it gave off were worlds apart. Holding the sword diagonally, Chu Hen's aura was monstrous, like a domineering god. Saint King Realm. Only a Saint King could kill a half-step Saint King Realm master with a single sword strike. Everyone in the martial ancestor sect, including Ningyu, was stunned. Pei Yi, on the other hand, was clenching his fists so hard that his knuckles creaked. This was an unconcealable shock. It had only been a few days since they last met, but the gap between him and Chu Hen had once again widened to such an extent. Between the two of them, there was already an insurmountable chasm. Hua! Chu Hen's figure flashed and landed on a stone pillar 7 or 8 meters high. Everyone immediately walked up to him. "Junior brother Chu Hen, are you okay?" Fortunately, you and senior sister Ning Yu came in time. Apart from Pei Yi, everyone else who had survived the disaster breathed a sigh of relief. Ning Yu shook her head. "It's not my fault, it's all Chu Hen's credit." After saying that, Ning Yu looked at Chu Hen meaningfully, seemingly waiting for his next move. Chu Hen understood and said, "We'll talk about other things later, the most important thing right now is to rush to the Heavenly Despair Lake." Rush to the Heavenly Despair Lake? As soon as this statement came out, everyone was stunned. "Are we going back to the Heavenly Despair Lake to rescue senior brother Chiu and the others?" one of them asked. Chu Hen nodded and did not deny it. "Okay, let's go back. Let's go back and fight to the death with these soaring cloud sect dogs." But then, a discordant sneer interrupted the enthusiasm of the few of them. "Hey, go back? It'll only add to our lives." Everyone looked at Pei Yi, who was standing nearby, in unison. However, he had a disdainful expression on his face. "Senior brother Pei Yi, what do you mean by that?" someone retorted. "Do I still need to explain? With just the few of you, it'll be difficult for you to break through the encirclement and enter the Heavenly Despair Lake, let alone save someone." Everyone was enraged when they saw Pei Yi's disdainful expression. "Senior brother Pei Yi, you're really disappointing. Junior brother Chu Hen came to save you despite the enmity between them. You really don't know what's good for you to do this. You're right, you're really disappointing." Pei Yi continued to sneer when he heard the few people's criticism. "I didn't ask him to save me, Pei Yi, don't owe him anything." The few of them were about to flare up again, but they were stopped by Chu Hen. He said coldly, "You're right, you don't owe me anything. I didn't save you alone. It's your business whether you want to go back or not, you don't have to get involved." Pei Yi frowned. Before he could say anything, Chu Hen had already shifted his gaze to the others. "Those who want to return to the Heavenly Despair Lake, follow me." As soon as he finished speaking, he moved and flew in the direction where he came from. "Wait for me, junior brother Chu Hen. I'll go with you. Let's go." Without any hesitation, everyone stepped into the air and followed after Chu Hen. Ningyu took a good look at Pei Yi. She pursed her red lips as if she wanted to say something. However, she did not say anything and quickly followed the others. Soon after, Pei Yi was the only one left. He who already had a deep grudge was filled with anger when he saw this. He clenched his teeth and muttered to himself, I'll see how all of you die." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Chu Hen and the others who were rushing back were extremely fast. They did not stop at all as they rushed to the rendezvous point. Looking at Chu Hen's indomitable back, everyone felt an indescribable sadness in their hearts. Are you really confident? At this moment, Ning Yu's slightly dignified voice came from behind. Chu Hen glanced sideways slightly, his eyes revealing a deep look. I don't know. After a pause, he continued, at least someone will go and collect their corpses. Everyone's heartstrings trembled slightly. Ning Yu clenched her fists tighter and tighter. She bit her red lips with her silver teeth, almost bleeding. Tell me about the Soaring Cloud sect, Chu Hen said. Ning Yu was startled. She glanced sideways at the other party's calm and deep eyes before nodding. The Soaring Cloud sect currently has no less than 10 geniuses who are about to enter the list of excellence. They all have great potential to enter the list. Currently, there are 3 people on the list, and all 3 of them have reached the Saint King realm. More than 10 masters who are about to enter the list of excellence. 3 Saint King realm masters. The group of martial ancestor realm disciples behind them could not help but gasp when they heard this number. Even Chu Hen narrowed his eyes as a hint of solemnity appeared on his face. Yuan Heir is the strongest among the 3 Saint King realm powerhouses. His cultivation has already reached the 3rd order Saint King realm. His celestial sacred body bloodline is one of the best among the many supreme grade saint bodies. Yuan Heir is extremely powerful and his methods are extremely vicious. He is known as the Soaring Cloud War God. Yuan Heir is ranked 28th on the list of excellence. Soaring Cloud War God? Just these 4 words alone gave off an oppressive feeling as if they were facing a mountain. He was ranked 28th on the list of excellence. He was ranked 9 places higher than Lei Yuan from the Thunder Saint clan. Qi Si's cultivation has reached the 2nd order Saint King realm. He is known as the Swift Light Divine Sword. His swift wind sword is as fast as lightning and his momentum is like a storm. He can take a person's life in the blink of an eye. He is ranked 32nd on the list of excellence. Chapter 1343. Mang Mountain was like a dragon, and the rivers were like a curtain in the sky. Many magnificent rivers shuttled back and forth between the towering mountains and lofty ridges. Surrounded by many rivers and mountains, there was a large lake with surging wave. The lake water was clear and rippling, as if it was a corner of the ocean. Near the center of the lake, there was a vast and wide bridge with a dam. The bridge was like a curtain in the sky, stretching across the east and west sides. It was very imposing. On the other hand, the north and south sides had tall city towers and arched bridges that connected the bridge, forming a magnificent city tower on the water. From afar, it looked like an ancient and magnificent city building on the water. There were tall and majestic city towers on all 4 sides, and clear water flowed below the city towers. Standing on top of the city walls, one could see the beautiful lake scenery, and it was really breathtaking. However, in this beautiful water area, there were many corpses that were too horrible to look at. The corpses were like dead fish, floating on the water surface. In some areas, even the color of the water was dark red. The deeper one went into the lake, the more chaotic it was. One could see more corpses. There were even some monsters and fierce beasts that lived under the water, chewing on the corpses. History is going to repeat itself. This time, the martial sect doesn't even have a chance to turn things around. On top of the city walls, the people of the Lingyun sect were like an army of an empire surrounding a city, standing in all directions. In the center of the city tower on the water, there was an open-air island in the middle of the lake. In the sky above the island, there was a huge dark red circular light screen that enveloped the entire island. The circular light screen was like a huge semicircular bubble, sealing every inch of the island. On the light screen, there were mysterious and complicated black patterns. The complex and powerful power of the patterns was like an unshakable ancient restriction, sealing the entire island in the middle of the lake. On the island in the middle of the lake, there were many martial sect disciples surrounding it. The martial arts grandmasters were like turtles trapped in a jar. No matter how they attacked the huge circle of light, it was of no use. The seemingly illusory light barrier was impregnable, and it couldn't be shaken in the slightest. "Let us out. If you have the ability, fight us to the death. Bastards of the Lingyun sect, don't play any tricks. If you want to kill us, just come at us. What's the point of blocking us here?" The people of the martial arts sect, who were trapped on the island in the middle of the lake, had long fallen into a state of anxiety. Some of them even started cursing angrily. However, the Lingyun sect's side was indifferent, as if they were not in a hurry to make a move. "What should we do? Are we really doomed this time?" On a rooftop in the middle of the island, Wang Li, Wu Yan, Zhao Qingkai, Zhao Qingyi, and the other core disciples had grim expressions on their faces. Even though their thoughts were still calm, everyone's brows were filled with unprecedented graveness and unease. "They must be plotting something. We must find a way to break out of the encirclement," Wu Yan said in a deep voice. However, Wang Li shook her head and Qi Qianying remained silent. Break out of the siege. It was easier said than done. Not to mention the difference in strength between them and the Lingyun sect, they could not even break this seal. No matter what plot they were hatching, they were unable to stop it. Wang Li, Wu Yan, and the others looked at each other and sighed. Then, the two of them subconsciously turned to look at Qiu Xingyi, who was not far away. At this moment, Qiu Xingyi was sitting cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed. His breathing was sometimes rapid, sometimes slow. There were many injuries on his body and dried blood had coagulated on his clothes, forming patches of dark red blood stains. Around his body, one could faintly see wisps of blood steam. The dense blood qi was like a faint flame attached to his body, appearing very strange. Looking at Qiu Xingyi, who was in a state of recovery, everyone felt a sense of helplessness. An inexplicable sadness surged in their hearts. After 100 years, the martial arts sect had once again become fish on the chopping block. The Lake of Sky Severance, the heavens really want the martial arts sect to end, hee. On the northern wall of the island, on a tower, a few figures emitting powerful auras looked at the lake monster that was gnawing on the corpses in the lake with playful smiles on their faces. "We have chosen a good burial place for these people who are about to die." Ha 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 ha. Laughter that was filled with mockery echoed in the tower. "Junior brother Li Xiong, don't you think we're a little too ruthless? During the last holy war, we only destroyed the limit of the martial arts sect's Saint Physique bloodline. On the observation deck at the highest point of the city tower, more than 10 figures with cold eyes stood respectfully at the bottom of the stairs. On the stage, 3 people sat in front of a stone table. As they talked and laughed, they seemed to be in control of the whole situation. "Haha, Senior Chi-Si, you're wrong." The person who replied was a skinny young man with cold eyes. His gaze swept across the people of the martial sect on the island at the center of the lake and replied with disdain, "It's as easy as flipping one's hand to destroy a third-rate force like this. The reason why we left them for this holy war is to give the other sects a warning. Those who go against our Lingyun sect will die." The man called Chi-Si curled up the corners of his mouth, and a frivolous sneer appeared on his face. The man called Li Xiong also smirked proudly. "What do you think will happen to this motley crew?" Chi-Si asked. "Hee." Li Xiong's voice paused. Together with Chi-Si, they looked at the young figure who was sitting at the back like a king. "This depends on Senior Brother Yuan Yi's mood." As soon as the words left his mouth, Yuan Yi suddenly lifted his eyelids and 2 frightening rays of cold light shot out from his eyes. Then, he slowly stood up and looked at the blue sky. His tone was light and playful as he said, "It's almost time." Everyone's heart skipped a beat as they smiled coldly that they had been waiting for a long time. Happy times always pass by very quickly. The final feast has begun. In an instant, a bone-piercing cold wave suddenly swept through the entire lake of Tianju. Clang, along with a sudden hurricane, the black clouds quickly covered the blue sky. Thunder roared and storms overlapped. Huge waves rose and overturned the rivers and seas. The expressions of all the martial ancestor disciples that were trapped on the island changed. Unease, panic, anxiety, and hatred filled every single one of their faces. A majestic aura that was as unshakable as a mountain shrouded the area under the shadow of the dark clouds. Wang Li, Qi Qianying, Wu Yan, and the others stared at the powerful figure who stood on the tower in fear. Is he finally going to make a move? Zhao Qingyi murmured. Looking at the figure, the martial sect disciples felt powerless. They could not even think of resisting. Yuan Yi. He was known as a king and the strongest person among all the geniuses in the Lingyun sect. He was a terrifying figure who was ranked in the top 30 on the excellence list. His ranking was almost 20 places higher than Qiu Xingyi, who was also on the list. With such a huge disparity in strength, coupled with the swift light divine sword Qi Si and the thunderbolt hand Li Xiong, the other two Saint King realm powerhouses, the martial sect members felt as if they had fallen into a dark vortex and found it hard to breathe. Sorry for the long wait. I'll let you have a taste of our courtesy. Yuan Yi's light voice was like a death sentence. An unprecedented panic and ominous premonition quickly surged in everyone's heart. Buzz buzz, an invisible and terrifying aura spread out from Yuan Yi's body. His 10 fingers formed a seal, and a powerful energy wave spread out in all directions, filling the entire space. In the next instant, the red halo barrier that enveloped the island began to operate at a high speed. Along with the rings of light spreading out, the surface of the rings of light was suffused with countless unfathomable and mysterious talisman patterns. The strange and evil runes swam out at a speed visible to the naked eye, covering every corner of the halo seal. Buzz, following that, the island began to shake, and the surrounding water violently rolled. Following the raging waves, the martial sect disciples on the island suddenly felt a blazing aura rising. A series of illusory red flames spread from the ground and enveloped everyone. What was going on? Everyone was shocked and confused. Apart from raising the temperature, the illusory flames did not seem to cause any substantial harm to them. However, soon everyone understood that things were not as simple as they had imagined. My true origin energy is disappearing. Me too. What's going on? My bloodline boundary power is also being reduced. The shouts of panic caused every martial arts great sect disciple to panic to the extreme. Everyone could clearly feel that their own power was being forcibly taken away. True origin energy, bloodline boundary, even Purple Mansion Saint's soul, all of their own power was being continuously evaporated. In an instant, the island in the middle of the lake was like a huge furnace. The martial sect disciples trapped in it were like ants being burned by a raging flame. Everyone ran in all directions, but everywhere the seal was, there was a raging fire. They could only watch helplessly as their own power was being taken away. No. Stop! I'm going to kill you all. Fear, anger, all of it turned into a roar of unwillingness. At this moment, the miserable experience of the martial sect disciples, who were recruited in the last sacred war, appeared in their mind. All the disciples with sacred body boundary bloodline boundary had their cultivation destroyed. Would the tragic experience that had happened to them happen again today? And this time, the Lingyun sect was targeting everyone in the martial sect. To put it simply, this is the celestial spirit sacrifice technique. Next, all of your power will be burned away. The celestial spirit illusory flame, in this technique, will gradually raise the temperature of your blood. Later on, you will see your meridians and blood vessels explode. I think it will be very interesting. Li Xiong raised his eyebrows slightly, a mocking smile hanging on his lips. His casual tone coupled with his playful attitude and cruel methods were simply chilling to the extreme. Beside him, Swift Light Sword Qi Si also chuckled. Haha, I think they should be grateful. This time, we have taken care of everyone and treated everyone equally. Taken care of everyone. It was not just the sacred body boundary bloodline boundary. All the disciples in the martial sect had become the victims of the Lingyun sect's butcher knife. Under the joking attitude, the vicious methods were infuriating. Yuan Yi's cold eyes narrowed, and a powerful wave of energy spread from his palm. Celestial spirits sacrifice, rise. Buzz! A destructive storm began to sweep through the entire Tianju Lake. In an instant, everyone in the martial sect felt as if they had fallen into a whirlpool opened by the Grim Reaper.